Sitting high above the field, just northeast of Barcelona in the wonderful town of Montmeló, Catalonia. Today, welcome back to Season 4 of AMX Global Racing, where today we're at the wonderful Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya in the BMW M2 CS cars. I'm Kevin Garcia, and joining me today we have Amir. Amir, how are you doing today?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Thanks for the lovely Michael Buffett-style intro there. We were waiting for let's get ready to race. But yeah, glad to be here today, and I'm glad we're on ACC as well because it's a simulation that I've actually raced on so many times, and can't wait to go get racing. Especially the cars that we have today, we might get some really close door-to-door action.
Yeah, we've had some good races so far with this Assetto Corsa Competizione. I know a lot of people are looking and hoping that it will stay for next season. I got to hop in the race last week. I wasn't up here in the booth. I was out there at Mount Panorama. And one thing I can say about Mount Panorama, if you are not 100% prepared, any little mistake, that place will eat you up. But we're not in Australia anymore. Of course, this week we are back in Europe. Like we said, Catalonia, the great Grand Prix track for the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, which was renamed not too long ago. It used to just be the Circuit of Catalunya, and the city of Barcelona has a partnership now that is renamed Barcelona Catalunya. But I may just be referring it to Catalunya. That is just known for so long. But anyways, we have a few things to go over today. Just a little bit of housekeeping information for this season and our prizes. So, starting off, AMX Global Season 4. We started back in January 27th, and we're going all the way through till April 21st. So we have a few weeks left there. This season's prize pool of $20,000 plus next level racing gear. So the race formats for Assetto Corsa Competizione, a little bit different than our iRacing races. We will have a 20-minute qualifier followed by a 40-minute race with one mandatory pit stop out in the middle of the race. So that definitely comes into strategy here. So of course, this season, your driver cams are required for AMX 1. You can join the link via our Discord or our website, get a little bit more information about that. But the payouts are for balances over $100 paid out each month. So once you hit that $100 threshold, that is when you will get paid out. And we race every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. So of course, go over to amxrace.com today. Get signed up. Like I said, we love having as much participation as we can in these races. amxrace.com, all of the info there. Our schedule, like I mentioned, Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. AMX 1 races start at 5:50 p.m., followed by AMX 10 at 7:20 p.m., and these are all scheduled in GMT time zone. So far, we have for the AMX 1 ACC prize pool, it follows as listed here. Position for first position, prize of $25, followed by second, $20. Third place gets $15. Fourth, all the way down until 15th place. And a $4 bonus for that person that gets the fastest lap, which totals to $100 up for grabs per race. And that just goes to show if you want to get in here and get your chance at winning. If there are 15 drivers or less, you're going to walk away out of here with some change in your pocket, as long as you can finish that race. So now we're going to go on to our leaderboard. Here's your AMX 1 top 12. So far, leading the pack, we have Mauricio Lozano in first place with 120 points, followed closely behind, just 3 points ahead, by Diego Villarreal de Leon, who's been very consistent. Facundo Rago in third place, who we seen yesterday at the AMX 1 NASCAR, taking the win. He has bumped up the leaderboard a couple places. Lloyd Renier, who has been dominant out here in the ACC races, sits in fourth place. Fifth place, we have Connor Healy. Sixth place, Gerardo Babio Ramos, followed by Lautaro Galloso in seventh, Lucas Werle in eighth, Mateus Machado in ninth place, Fabien Nougier in 10th, Fabrizio Belzidi in 11th place, and rounding it out, we have Leo Mora sitting in that 12th place position. And again, that was your overall AMX1 top 12. We're going to go into your season points so far, specifically for ACC, starting down with Thibaut Prévost with 19 points, dropped down a spot. Adriano Coutinho with 20 points. Kevin Leon, 22 points. Santiago Barrios with 27 points. Simone Seminaro, which was last week's winner, now sits at 29 points. Mauricio Lozano with 30 points, followed by Imran Zuhaili with 32 points. Sitting in third place, Lucas Werle with 42 points. In second, Fabien Nougier with 44.25. And your current ACC leader, Loy Renier with 107 points, who has been absolutely dominating so far this season. I believe Loy has only gotten, has not gotten first in one of his 4 races. So now, back over to you, Amir. Let's see what we got out here today.
Yep, Dudley, thanks for the run through of the housekeeping there, Kevin. And now we're going to go through what we're going to be racing and where we're racing. Starting off with the track itself, you can see clearly is the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. But it was just only recently named because the city of Barcelona decided to put their name of the city as part of the circuit. So it's kind of like a sponsorship arrangement, quote unquote, but it's basically named the city itself on there. As you can see, opened in 1991, just in time for the 1992 Summer Olympics, 4.657 kilometers. So we're going to go through the full Grand Prix layout. And in the beautiful region of Montbello, as you said earlier, for what we can say is a boring racetrack for F1, but for other racing series is very exciting. And as for the cars that we're going to be racing on, speaking of exciting, this is the BMW CS car that we're going to be racing for, or more specifically, it's a touring car version of a BMW M2 rather than the normal M4 or M6 that's available in the GT3 class. This is part of the Michelin Pilot Challenge and some of the other regional touring car series that runs with these cars. 365 brake horsepower, rear wheel drive, thank God, because sometimes front wheel drive cars with high horsepower you can chew through those front tires, and a sequential gearbox where it's pretty much hands on the wheel the whole time, so you don't need to go heel and toe as opposed to some of the other old school type cars. And for a race car, it's a bit on the heavy side, but nonetheless, we're gonna have really fun, chuckable cars here around the Grand Prix circuit, Kevin.
Yes, and I was actually running a few laps at this track in Assetto Corsa the other day with this car combination, just to get a little bit of a feel of what these drivers are going to be going for today. And I can say after running it, it is definitely up there with one of my top 5 favorite Grand Prix tracks. I don't really have an order of what the rest of the tracks are in, but this is definitely top 5. I love it. It has a little bit of everything. So now we're going to hop into qualifying, see where our drivers are at. And it looks like today, so far, we have a few drivers in here. Of course, like I said, AMXrace.com, you can come in here, battle it out with these drivers. So far, we have 5 in the qualifying with Simone Seminara, last week's winner, sitting atop that qualifying spot. But we're not even halfway through qualifying, so that can still change very soon.
Yep, in fact, now the drivers will be coming through the halfway point of the session. Times will get faster, no doubt, because depending on the server settings, where if you have the track being green from the start, it might actually go to optimum in no time when more and more people run. But because we have this so-and-so amount of drivers on board, the circuit might just be fast, so the lap times will not tumble as fast as expected. But then again, it might just be set optimum to begin with. Let's see how that goes. About 0.6 of a second between first and second. So Seminara now in front of Lucas Verle. Verle, he's taking the outside line through turn number 1. That's pretty much optimum because you want to actually open out the entry through the first couple of corners. And based on your testing, Kevin, how's it been with these cars? Because does it have that kind of sort of understeery nature that you get with touring cars, or they're actually quite nimble?
You know what? I feel like these cars are actually very well balanced. You know, some of these corners, it feels like you're going a little bit slow. Of course, this track, you know, is really meant for and designed for those Grand Prix races, which, you have those Formula One cars taking this at absolutely ludicrous speeds. So it does feel a little bit slow in comparison to that. But, when you compare it to some of the other Cup cars, like we've seen a lot of GR86, we've seen a lot of MX5 and other popular Cup car, definitely a bit faster than those. It's, I'd say, the closest probably to about GT4 cars. That's probably the closest feel that we have here in these M2 CS vehicles. But now we're along board with Lucas Werle, who looks like he is so far just sitting about a little over half a second behind the leader. Renier also just a little bit ahead of him. So far that is your 1, 2, 3 in qualifying. Seminara, Renier, and Werle.
Yep, and Renier, of course, one of the guys to watch out for. We saw just now how he has been really consistent in the series so far. He is well ahead of the field, but he will definitely try to consolidate that by winning today's race. But he's got Seminara as a competitor here, so that might challenge his dominance at the top. Simone Seminara, he climbed up 22 positions from that first week of racing alone, so he is definitely one that Ray here will be watching out for come race time, as Verle has enough time to wipe off sweat off his face. It's a lot of work, isn't it? Look at that.
Yes, of course. And like we said, last week's winner, Seminara, him and Renier, they were going back and forth last week's qualifying. We'll see if we still have that with 9 minutes remaining left in this qualifying, if those two can keep swapping it back and forth. But of course, you can see there, we're running roughly 2-minute laps, just under 2 minutes. Seems to be about the pace in these vehicles. And that was, I was a little bit over that when I was trying to practice, of course. New track, trying to learn it. But absolutely, as we go through the Audi Sport overpass, you can see here along board with Seminara, still looking to improve on that lap time. He already has a 158.36. That is an amazing speed for these cars. To be getting under that 2 minutes, like I said, is about the pace today. And these guys are just absolute professionals. So I expect to see an absolute battle again this week between Seminara and Loy Renier. And keep in mind, Renier is the current points leader for this category, but can he hold it off these next few weeks, or will Seminara be able to take that spot away from him?
Yeah, but it's going to be a bit of a tall order because it's about half the points that he has to gain from what Renier has right now. So there's still a few weeks left of competitions. In case that maybe Renier miss a couple of races, Seminara will be right in the thick of it. That will be fun to watch as the championship unfolds in the ACC category, because we have, mind you, subclasses for this season as opposed to the overall championships in AMX 1 and 10. It'll be really nice to have a close championship fight to the end. As across the line goes Seminara, 5,000s the difference between his previous lap time and his fastest, so he is absolutely consistent. Renier likewise, only 300s off. So they're definitely the class of the field, but it's a big difference between first and second. 5/10s on a long circuit like this. No doubt there'll be still plenty of time to find for Renier, but it's a tall order if one guy is actually pretty much dialed into the track and car combo straight away.
Yeah, of course. As we see now, Renier, you can see his setup right there in the bottom right-hand corner. I love watching these guys. Just, I'm kind of a tech nerd. I love seeing everyone's different setups. You see a lot of guys, especially nowadays, running those triple monitors. We see a lot more people now, it seems, getting some of these ultra wides as the prices in those are starting to come down, as well as VR. As Renier comes to a stop, let's see, with 6.5 minutes left, he's going to try and get another couple laps in. As we go back following Barrios now, the number 76 car. And just look at the focus on his face right there in the bottom right. This man is absolutely focused. He's about 2.2 seconds behind right now. But, you know, like I said, 6 minutes, you have still time to at least get another good couple laps. All right, and he's waving to us. I think he's seen us in the stream. Of course, just great interaction here. You know, we may have a small grid currently for some of these ACC races, but the drivers that we do have in here absolutely just make for a great time. As you can see, going into turn one, goes a little bit wide on there, his brakes squealing. He has to cut the corner, so this lap for him may be in the books. He may have to to just let those tires warm up a little bit and try to get another lap after this. But all smiles here.
Yep. All is fair in love and war, and in this particular case, all is fair in literally just when you're doing a flying lap, you can still have enough time to have niceties to everybody. So that's really great to see. As the last person who's last at the moment is Leo Mora, about 5.6 seconds behind. That may be not indicative of his actual pace. So is Barrios. We'll wait and see when they get their proper fine laps in, as Mora runs a bit wide there and jumps back to pit lane. That's probably not what you want to do, because that takes an awful long time to prep the car again for the next lap. It's such an awfully long circuit, especially in these kind of cars.
Yes, like you mentioned earlier when we're going over the overview of the track, 4.66 kilometers, which for my American viewers translates into about 2.89 miles. So just under 3 miles. That is definitely a little bit longer circuit. But speaking of longer circuits, you know, after this race too, we will be heading over to Italy, where we have a little bit longer circuit. But that is for later, so make sure to stick around for that. And speaking of Leo Mora earlier, after last weekend's race, I got to talk to him just a little bit in Discord, just kind of let him know we had some people out here in chat. Shout out to everyone in chat. Hey, what's up? We love you guys. They had started mentioning about dirt racing. They were asking, hey, you know what would be cool to see? What if AMX did some dirt racing? And I said, that would be very interesting. We're going to have to ask about that. If there's enough interest, maybe, maybe not. But going back to Leo Mora, he is primarily a dirt track racer, not dirt ovals, but the dirt track rallycross and the pro light trucks in iRacing, pro light trucks, pro 4 trucks, pro 2 trucks. That is his bread and butter. So it's great to see these drivers coming out here from different disciplines, getting in some of these GT cars, coming out here to ACC. It's just a great time. And I'm sure that too, like we've seen in NASCAR, a little bit different. Some of the drivers are primarily GT drivers. Some of them, you know, doing the Porsche Cup, switching it over to the NASCAR. But right now, we have about 3 minutes left in qualifying. So we will see if these drivers can improve their lap times, or if this is going to be the grid position that we see.
Yeah, talking about the dirt element, especially, I think the most we can get if everyone is a dirt loyalist here is the Bristol dirt, which NASCAR runs on anyway. So we have it on the iRacing service. That will be the closest thing we have to a full-on dirt race. But again, if there is an interest there, especially with plenty of drivers coming from the dirt background, we will try to put it on. But for the most part now, the most plausible way, given the current system that we run, the Bristol dirt will definitely be one to go for.
Yeah, especially that too. Like we said, you know, iRacing keeps adding more dirt tracks now with the dirt midgets, and adding more tracks there, more cars. So they are definitely, you know, up to something out there at iRacing. I know as well, another thing that's been brought up for contention is, hey, when are we going to start seeing some rain for our AMX 10 races? And, you know, again, you guys will just have to wait and see what is down the pipeline next season. We've had a lot of feedback from this season in particular to really get a good idea of like, hey, well, what is going to make for some interesting races? What do the drivers want to see? What do the viewers want to see? And, you know, rain, of course, just coming to the iRacing servers is definitely something that will shake up the grid a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. The Tempest system that came around was, I think, a real game changer in the whole of the sim racing landscape, because you already got iRacing, which is the pinnacle of multiplayer online racing, where you have ranked servers and all that. You can just race together, get a good career out of it. But now that they add another element into the mix, really does change the entire ballpark and ball game, and it's gonna have to, I think, shake things up for the other simulators. So ACC already has rain, but I don't know if the implementation of the rain is as good as iRacing. I would say it's decent, but you still race online, you know, like online, not offline, the circuit. But in iRacing, yeah, it does become slightly different. Really interesting to see whether or not we can implement the rain temper system into any of our AMX races in the future, but we'll wait for that as well in due time.
So here, coming up
barely
on
goes
the
to
final 30 seconds qualifying. Oh, yep, and Lucas, we're up just into the wall a little bit on there. That'll do it for his qualifying. So, back on board with Seminara as we're going into the final few seconds. Of course, it looks like this may just be where our grid sits. So right now, Seminara is leading by about 0.4 seconds. So 158.2, he did improve from where he was when we started this stream. And of course, I expect those laps to get a little bit better as we have 40-minute race coming up now in just a few seconds.
Yep, about 50 seconds left to go after this. So Seminara may not be able, in fact, he is not going to be able to complete his lap now, but he is well and truly ahead in front of Regier with 0.4 of a second in hand, as we are now going to go straight to the race after this. There's the overhead shot. Sometimes you get confused that this might be an actual satellite shot. It just looks so good on ACC because it runs on Unreal Engine 4. But we can't mind the scenery a bit too much because we're going to be watching more of the cars rather than the trackside and all that jazz. And so we'll wait for the confirmation of who finally got pole position afterwards, because of course ACC doesn't have the capture standings that they show compared to iRacing. But nonetheless, it was clear that Seminara was about 0.4 of a second faster, but wait to see if Rainier can actually get a faster time out of that.
Of course, like we've seen, him and Rainier and Seminara battling it out last weekend. So far, battling it out not too far off of each other's pace today, just a few tenths between our first, second, and third positions. And again, like you're saying earlier, I know there's a lot of controversy between ACC and iRacing, which I will get to later as we have our standings coming up. That would be Seminara in first place with that 158.23 that we've seen. Renier coming in second, just behind him of 0.4. Lucas Guerrero, Barrios in fourth, and Leo Mora in fifth. And like I said, although there are only 5 drivers out here today, we should still see some very good competition. And again, anything can happen. I know last week we had within the first lap, you had a crash right before the start-finish line, which seems to happen quite a lot with some of these tracks. Tires are still cold and you just get a little bit too aggressive. But 40-minute race, pole position, led by Seminara in your BMW M2 CS cars.
Yeah, they add to the point about tires being cold. Sometimes the run up to the line may be quite short because they don't go for a full formation lap. Otherwise, it will be taking a while longer to finish the race. So really, if they start on a short way again, they have to actually watch out, behave themselves coming to the first couple of corners, because the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, the first turn can be quite the choke point, especially in MotoGP races where everyone fans out because it's a wide entry to, as you can see, coming to turn number 1. But the moment that the corner comes in, the radius gets tighter. So same thing in race cars. It's just going to be a bit difficult. If you misjudge it, you're going to lock up or you're going to just whack into the side of somebody when everyone goes flying into the first turn. As we're now getting ready here, it is going to be a short run to the line, Kevin. It's definitely going to be a case of who's going to be playing chicken with the other drivers.
Yeah, and from running this track before in these same cars, I will say that turn 1, it can sneak up on you if you're not just dialed in ready. And we can see cars bounce a little bit, getting ready. We are seconds away from the green. I think we are just waiting again for that pace car to pop in and these drivers to get a little bit in there. But one thing about this track that a lot of people may not realize, you can see from the overhead shots when we were looking at it there, that we had the pit lane exit is actually very long going into that turn 1. So when these guys do have to pit, if there is someone that is coming up behind them, that is absolutely going to make for an interesting re-entry. As we can see a couple of the drivers getting pretty close there out here on the outlap. Like I said, very short, like you mentioned earlier, as we head on to the home straight. Seminara, Renier, Werley, your top 3 for this as we wait to go green.
Green light, show them what you got.
And there it is. There's the green flag, green lights, as Seminara still holds on to that lead with Renier sliding in just behind him. And here we go into turn one. We can see cold tires. What will we see here? Are these guys going to play it a little bit safe, or are they going to go very aggressive? As looks like they're all playing a little bit safer right now. Of course, 40 minutes, you don't want to mess it up early on. You want to kind of get that pace and hold it for the rest of the race as the drivers now falling all in line.
Yep, everyone got their ducks in order. That was actually quite a well-behaved start of the race. You can see, as I said just now, the drivers ran out to get into turn one to try ducking, weaving in and out to find the best possible line for turn number one. But everyone braked just in time because they know full well that the tires and brakes are not up to temperature. And luckily for everyone involved, they all got away through cleanly in the first sector alone. So let's see how they're going to do for the rest of the lap and insert the rest of the race.
So now you can see we are on board with Santiago Barrios, the Argentinian driver out here today, who is sitting in 5th. So he got knocked down one place by Leo Mora. Leo Mora able to pass him to secure that 4th position. But like we said, only a couple minutes in, and we got a little bit of a battle. He's getting really close to that rear bumper of Leo Mora. Let's see if he goes for the pass right here. He's setting it up. Yep, he goes towards the inside. No, Peaks goes back out. Not this time, he says. Maybe I'm going to wait for that opportunity. Maybe wait for the driver just to make a little bit of a mistake. And especially some of these long straights. And when you have a small grid like this, you're not too worried about everyone piling up on top of each other. So it gives just a little bit more breathing room and be able to strategize. What am I going to do? How am I going to pass some of these guys? As we go around, getting ready to go into that last little chicane. And fun fact, so this track does also have a different configuration ran, as you can see there in the background, that does not use that last chicane. But, like we said, today we are using the full GP circuit. And right on the rear bumper of Leo Mora, these guys should be interesting now, like we said, going into turn one.
Yeah, he's looking left and right, Mora, because I think he's running a really ultra-wide screen, or he could be running a bezel kit triple monitor because he doesn't see the black lines on his reflection with glasses by the looks of it. So pretty wide screen he has. That's why he's looking left and right, trying to see where's Barrios going to take it. But he kept it narrow, and Barrios didn't have any way through just yet. But he's latching onto the back of his car, finding onto the inside, coming through Repsol corner. This might be his chance. No, Barrios backs out of it and waits for another corner. They're both actually falling way behind right now, 5.9 seconds from between themselves and Burley. So Barrios might be feeling a bit antsy here, trying to get it going so that they don't lose touch with the top three.
Yes, and that's the unfortunate part about when you're battling it out like that. Of course, everyone wants to be able to get first position. Everyone wants to be able to make up those places. But when you're battling it out, that just slows you down a little bit of time. Like we said, there's about a 5-second gap roughly between them and the pack of 3 in front of them. So we've seen this a little bit happening. This track, there's not going to be too much draft like there would be in, let's say, NASCAR or some of these other vehicles that have a lot of downforce. So it gives great opportunities, however, on turns like this right after the front straight that, like we said, there's still 36 minutes left in this race. So patience is absolutely a virtue here. Yep.
But for Barrios, he may not have that kind of patience because he is literally losing time hand over fist the more he stays behind Mora. So he really needs to get a move on here if he were to stand any chance of getting a podium. But judging by the qualifying pace, that may be a bridge too far, and he's gotten a poor entry coming out of turn 15 onto the start-finish straight. That is his one big chance to actually get by Mora coming through to turn number 1, going begging, at least for the time being.
And of course, like we said, with these long races compared to how we have our iRacing format, anything can happen with that mandatory pit stop. We've seen a few people in previous races that they were speeding through the pits and got that penalty. As we see Barrios try to make the pass now. They're going a little bit side by side on that rear quarter panel, almost door to door, looking to the outside, but unfortunately just doesn't quite have enough speed to make that outside. Will he do the over-under as they come onto this back straight? We see as they start braking, and again, still playing it very safe. Again, he wants to pass. Barrios absolutely wants to get past Mora, but at the same time, you have to think, okay, I don't want to cause an accident here. Like we said, we've seen an accident happen first lap of last week with Leo Mora that unfortunately took him out of the race. But again, still some great battles. Whether or not these guys are in the back of the pack or leading the pack, we love to see battles all throughout the race through all of these drivers.
Absolutely, Kevin, and it's great to see that they're still engaging in it despite losing touch to the leaders. 5.5 minutes in, imagine he can still go at it for the next 34.5 as Barrios manages to crack his knuckles before coming to the corner, so he had enough time to contemplate where to overtake and at the same time trying to just get himself more relaxed coming through this last sector, which is actually very tricky. It looks quite deceiving. It might look easy on the track map, but make no mistake, the elevation change plus the areas where it just turns a little bit off camber, it does throw you off here. So you gotta have to find the right way to exit these corners to actually gain momentum to start finish straight. And Barrios this time, however, did not lose momentum compared to last time, and he might have at least half a chance in getting by Mora.
Just as these guys come back onto the home straight, whoa, getting really close to the rear bumper of Leo Mora. Santiago Barrios, like we said, of course, this turn one is a great place if you can just get that braking in a little bit later to try and make that overpass, but it seems like they are very evenly matched when they're coming into some of these corners. And you see it not quite going all the way on the inside, but that's okay, as right here now, will Barrios make his move? He has the inside line. Leo Mora going to the outside, and looks like Barrios will be able to make that pass. So now that will drop Leo Mora down back into 5th place, as Barrios will be looking to make up time now that he has a little bit of clean air. But don't forget, he still has to be looking in that rear view mirror just a little while unless he can start securing a gap. There's a current about 14-second gap between Barrios and the leaders, so he has quite a bit of work cut out for him. So let's see, will he be able to do it? Will he be able to get on the podium? Still 32 minutes left in this 40-minute race.
Yeah, he raised his hand there either as gesticulation, or he could just say thanks for giving plenty of space. In fact, he had the size of the entire country of Spain to go through there. So plenty of respect given between the both of them, but they at the expense of both of them losing plenty of time to the guys in front. 15.6 seconds now the gap between Verle and Barrios, so he has to bank on that one of the drivers in front of him watches the pit stops. You can see there's a small orange indicator that with the number 1 on it. That means that there are mandatory pit stops in here, so this might just shake things up here if someone were to either miss their box or they actually get it wrong when they try to enter or exit the pit lane and get a drive-through.
And that too, talking about the mandatory pit stops, that does bring up the question of what are the strategies that we're going to see out here. A lot of times you see those that are leading the race the entire time, if they're able to secure a little bit of a gap, they usually will wait until the last possible moment to go into the pits. Just that way they have a little bit of breathing room, not wanting to give up any positions. But like what we had with that battle earlier between Barrios and Mura, you know, that's one of those things that they were really worried about that battle between them, but I was a little bit surprised that neither one of them made their mandatory pit stop just to get a little bit of breathing room and not have to worry about that other driver, just have to worry about setting down fast lap times until everyone else has their mandatory pit stop.
Yeah, that's actually a good point to make, actually, because for Barrios, he knew he was behind Mora and he was being held up. He could have actually ducked to the pits, get that mandatory pit started away quickly and just continue on in his race. But thing is, he just wanted to pass and get track position. Now he's set himself back a lot. Maybe he could think of pitting earlier, maybe at a halfway point around the 20-minute mark, or he could wait it out until the end. But then again, he does have that kind of luxury of being in front to do it, and he does have the luxury of actually getting away from Mora, because there is Mora again back right of his chuff.
Yeah, Mora doing a good job of still being able to stick it back to Barrios. Keeping up, he's looking to reclaim that 4th place position as he goes to the inside right here. We have a sharp left-hand corner. Will he be able to hold it? And it looks like he does. He makes sure to get that nice and tight line. But right here we have a little bit of a S turns, and Barrios can easily overtake again within the next few turns right here as we see him going to the inside, tucks right behind Mora. So again, we will see what is the strategy going to be here. Are these two going to keep battling it out like they've been? They just might. Or will one of them, like we said, try to pit, try to get a little bit of breathing room, some clean air, and just focus on the road ahead of them, as Barrios right on the bumper as they go into the home straight across the start-finish line. Just under 30 minutes left in this race going on today. As a quick recap, currently our leader is still Simone Seminara, followed by Lloyd Renier and Lucas Whirl in third place. A little bit of a gap going between Seminara and the other drivers. But again, we have great action going on right here towards the back of the pack as Leo Mora is continuing to defend from Santiago Barrios.
Yep, and they still had it like hammer and tongs here. Barrios actually couldn't capitalize on the fact that Mora went completely off track there to just avoid having to lose momentum and get Barrios back at him. But having said that, Barrios is still going at it with him. He cannot shake him off. In fact, both of them just can't shake each other off. They've been together since the very beginning, 11 and a half minutes ago, and it might just be detrimental to their entire race if they still continue the battle.
And as this battle continues, just a reminder to everyone out there watching, of course, head over to amxrace.com. If you love Assetto Corsa Competizione and you think, hey, I could get a shot at some of this prize money, feel free to sign up, amxrace.com, all of the details there. And if it's a race like today, there's only 5 drivers on the grid, like I said, as long as you can get on that track and finish the race, you will be walking home with at least some bit of money in your pocket. But as they come out of this next turn, again, going door to door, Santiago Barrios just slightly behind the pace of Leo Mora. Again, I think the hardest part is once you get to that, especially to areas like this where you have these tight chicanes, you don't want to get too aggressive because you know, hey, if I tap this person's bumper, there's a good chance that we might just both end out of this race. As we go back into the home straight, Leo Mora slightly leading Santiago Barrios.
Oof. And I'm not sure what Barrios is doing there. He might just try to intimidate Mora, or he is almost losing it coming to the turn. It might be the former because he was just trying to put Mora off, but Mora was equal to it. They got through the first couple corners safely, but again, Barrios is going to be feeling so antsy right now that he's still seeing the back of that red BMW in front of him, of Leo Mora. Now he has an opportunity to overtake coming through Red Soul Curve again, but once again, he actually backs out of it, so he didn't really think of going for a dink at least to throw off Mora, and they're still at it, engaged in the battle, half a minute behind the leaders.
And that just shows just the kind of racecraft and discipline that Barrios has to be able to be right on the bumper of Leo Mora without pushing him out of the way. I know we've seen in some of these other races, once these drivers, they might get a little bit impatient and they say, you know what, I'm just going to give him a little bit of a love tap, you know, something just enough where maybe the stewards won't see that, won't get penalized. But like we said, Barrios being very patient here. And as we go around this track, fun fact of the current lap record is held by Max Verstappen, who had set the lap record back in 2021 and then crushed it again in 2023 last year at the Spanish Grand Prix. So Max Verstappen, who does hop in the AMX 10 races from time to time, member of Team Redline, and we see a lot of Team Redline members hopping in some of these races. Like I said, holding that lap record. It'd be interesting to see if one of these races, you know, maybe in the future, we could get some more Formula style cars. And I'm sure we had a while back the Real Racers Never Quit series, as I'll get back to that, as Barrios right now looks like he is making his move on Leo Mora, finally getting able to pull on the side of him, and you can see the excitement. He's saying, let's go, heck yes. He is going right here has to take the inside line. So Leo Mora might have a little bit better, faster line to be able to take it a little bit wider. So we'll see if he can overtake again. But Barrios holding him off. Man, you can just tell the excitement. And once again, he has a race ahead of him to try and defend off Leo Mora, but also make up some of that time on the top 3 drivers.
I think they're actually just sparring each other right now, because you can see how Mora was wheeling him on to just get by, and Barrios in turn responds kindly to try and race him, but the moment he took the advantage, he ran wide there, and Mora's now back up his shelf once again. So I think these two are just going at it for funsies. They really are enjoying each other's company here on track.
And that's what we love to see. Even though, like we said, hey, these 2 drivers, they're still in the back of the pack, but they're still going to be going home with 4th and 5th positions as it sits. You know, that is one thing. It might not be quite as competitive near the back of the pack, but these guys are absolutely having a blast. And hey, if you're not out here racing to have a blast, of course you want to win. But being able to just have this amount of fun, something that, hey, a lot of these people might not get to do in real life, so we're doing it here in Assetto Corsa, having a blast. Especially, it makes it a lot easier for our jobs. We're having a blast, and as you can see, a lot of gravel on that outside corner as they're going out. I wonder if someone ended up going a little bit wide earlier and bring some of that gravel back onto the course. But once again, Barrios slightly leading Mora.
Yep, sorry to interject there, Kevin, but I don't think they have that feature in ACC where you can bring gravel onto the racetrack like what it did in the original Automobilista, or currently with even R-Factor, and to a certain extent iRacing. So that was just the way the gravel was designed, just to put off drivers from going too wide, which is the right way to go, because nowadays there's too much runoff in racing circuits where every driver is just abusing it. And case in point, look at that. Barrios was thinking about cutting it like the way Mora has been, but backs out of it, and to his detriment, gets Mora back onto the back of him.
I guess that is one thing that we may have to see whenever they release Assetto Corsa 2, which allegedly, again, we'll have to just wait and see for some more news on that. Hopefully that gets as much hype as the original Assetto Corsa. A lot of people still continue to play that. Of course, the modding community, myself included, just loves being able to go to tracks that aren't included in a lot of the DLCs or base games. For instance, one of my favorites has been Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. Not really included in a lot of these games these days, but hey, with the original Assetto Corsa, go ahead and you can find a map for it and load it up and have a great hill climb. But back to today's race, these two, we are 22 minutes left out of your 40-minute heat. The Santiago Barrios holding off Leo Mora. The two been sparring back and forth the entire race.
And once again, that was not the most natural of lines, but Barrios loses it big time. Now Mora's back at him. They're going side by side. They're providing a lot of the entertainment here today. Despite not being at the sharp end of the grid, they have been really entertaining us with their side-by-side battles and keeping it absolutely clean, which is nice to see, as Barrios now gives the inside line to Mora, which in turn will expose him around the outside, because there goes Mora again, and Barrios again takes the lead in between these two guys and goes across the line in fourth once again. Let's see how turn one's going to entail.
And of course, like you mentioned earlier, you know, it might be at this point, hey, these guys, they're just having fun back there, but they might also possibly just be getting comfortable with these cars and waiting for some of the races in the future. As we see Leo Mora spin out just a little bit, and Santiago Barrios does his best not to make any contact. Oh, just a little bit sketchy there, but that's what happens whenever you're already 20 minutes into a race and you're just trying to push it just a little bit harder. These guys both trying to improve on their lap times, as now we see Barrios just kind of taking the lead. Let's see if he decides to start pushing a little bit hard and pull away, or if he's going to continue just to have some fun back there with Leo Mora, keep battling it out, keep giving some great footage to watch. But you can see the smile on Leo Mora's face. He just said, oh, that could have been a lot worse than it ended up.
And for the saving grace for him is that he didn't lose too much time because Barrios as well just had to stop the car completely to prevent an outer disaster. So yeah, the upshot is that they're still in each other's company.
And as we can see, of course, Leo Mora right there in 5th position, still only about a second behind Santiago Barrios. But right now, we just passed the halfway mark, and it looks like the leaders are about 10 laps in as we join back with Simone Seminara. As you can see, a little bit of a gap between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It looks like they're very evenly spaced apart right now. So, again, some of these races, they're not quite endurance races. They are a little bit longer than some of our other race formats here at AMX. But with this 40-minute race, the biggest thing is consistency. That really separates the winners from the rest of the pack here so far that we've seen all season long. Those that can keep their consistent lines, keep it consistent lap times, tend to walk away with the podium very easily, so long as no big mistakes, no one ends up in the wall, no one ends up into someone else's quarter panel. As we can see again, Simone Seminara, last week's winner, over halfway through the race, he may just be a 2-time winner, as we see Santiago Barrios finally going in for his mandatory pit stop. And let's see if he will do tire change, get a little bit of fuel, or is he just gonna kind of chill out, relax, maybe get a drink of water, and head back out. But he is the first person to pit, so nope, does not look like he's getting the exact same tires.
No, he's done the exact thing that I was thinking, where he only put a liter of fuel in so that he could just get out of the pits quickly. That's the ideal strategy, especially in these kind of short sprint races where you don't need to change tires. It takes about 30 seconds to do that. Only you take up a bit of fuel, lose a couple of seconds, but you can still be quick in your turnaround to get back on track. So Barrios did the right strategy. Let's see what the others are doing. I'm pretty sure the top 3 are going to do that. Not sure what Mora is going to do when he comes into the pits.
And that pit stop let Leo Mora get back that 4th place position that they were battling it out for earlier. Of course, Mora yet to go in for his pit stop. So once he does go in for that pit stop, we may expect that to change. But again, here we are with your leaders, Seminara, Renier, Worley. As Renier, now we go to the onboard camera with him. See him right there in the bottom right-hand corner, of course. Couple of these drivers running those ultra wides. There's a little bit of gap, but we will see if the pit strategy comes into play and if that shakes things up. 17 minutes left in the race. Let's just get a few seconds just to hear these beautiful cars. And as you can hear, a lot of that noise coming from the sequential gearbox. These BMW M2 CS cars, a little bit unlike some of the other cars. They are in their own class. A lot of people compare them to the GT4 cars. Feel a little bit similar. I'd say the gearing in them does feel a little bit different. As you can see, even on that tight hairpin, not dropping all the way down into 1st gear. A lot of these cars, you kind of want to keep it into 2nd gear. Some of them, if you drop it down to 1st, you get a little bit too much of that engine braking that can really kick out the rear end of the vehicle and start spinning you out just a little bit and just interrupt your line. So a lot of these guys not really having to drop back down into 1st except for taking off from the pits.
Yep, and you can see that the ratios are slightly longer, so that's why he doesn't want to actually get into a wrong gear coming through the slower section. 2nd gear at best. But 1st gear as well depends on how well you can actually play with the clutch, because if you hold on to it a bit too long, you might actually just over-rev the car and not get enough momentum out of it. You just want to play with that clutch, hit the right bite points, and get the car going almost immediately.
And for some of these drivers I know, I tend to be a little bit aggressive when we have a little bit slower paced cars. So needless to say, I found out that information the hard way of, hey, some of these hairpins in this car don't shift down to 1st, because then it's going to turn into Formula D. You're going to be trying to drift for your life out here just to not end up into the wall. But as we can see, these drivers a little bit more experienced than I am, a little bit smarter. I have ended up on my fair share of replays this season, just being a little bit too aggressive with other aggressive drivers. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Most of the time, it makes for a great replay, which luckily a lot of these drivers, other than that little bit of mess up we've seen by Leo Mura earlier on in the race with Santiago Barrios, they did not take each other out, luckily. But again, making for some great racing. So we'll see once Leo Mura, once he makes his pit stop and gets out of that, will he be able to catch back up to Barrios? Will they be close and start battling it out, as we are 14 and a half minutes left of this race?
Yeah, but someone is asking the question at the bottom of the screen. Can you drift in this game? Yes, but only if you really throw the car into a power slide. So it doesn't really count as a drift where you can pull the handbrake like in the Assetto Corsa. But in ACC, you can let the car step out and try to catch it back if possible. But that's just considered a power slide.
And from experience, I would say, yeah, you kind of, in a way, can drift. Would I recommend it? Probably not. One, it eats through your tires just a little bit more, overheats them. So, if you didn't do it intentionally because you were going into the corner just a little bit too hot, that will start to overheat your tires, wear them down just a little bit, and there goes your next few turns. Of course, Assetto Corsa Competizione is a little bit more forgiving with tire wear than it is in iRacing. I know some people prefer that. That, again, may be driving a little bit more aggressive, how the tire models are here in ACC versus iRacing. But then some people say, no, one's more realistic than the other. It may be up to a matter of preference. But again, there are some pro drivers that so far seem to take the overall with iRacing.
Yeah, again, like you said, preference. And also the fact that some people just want to stay by that sim for as long as they could because they are good at it, they love the handling model, and they can just sink their teeth into it without having to worry about whether or not they could have the right skill set. As someone at the bottom just said, fun over realism. Yeah, by all means. You can. It's just a free market. Anyone can choose whatever they want. And to go back to your point about the forgiving nature of ACC, there's only one thing that you cannot take lightly. And the fact that ACC has a finite number of tires, depending on the server setting. So if you have a small number of sets of tires that you can use, then you do not want to go drifting in those. Otherwise, you'll be caught short in the race.
Yes, as we can see right now, we're still on board with Lucas Werle, who, again, your top 4 drivers have yet to pit. There is 12 minutes left, and I'm thinking what we called earlier, that most likely they're going to wait until the last couple of minutes, maybe wait until, lap 18 or 19 before they start heading into the pits. But we will see. Will anyone here in the top 3 pit before everyone else, or are they going to all wait for your leader, Seminara, to pit and follow suit?
Yeah, let's see then. I think they might just go for the very final possible minute to actually do the pit stop, because of course it is running to the clock when it runs up, but it's not a +1. The moment you hit 0, that's it. So if you were to be caught short, you'd definitely be given a penalty post-race in game. So let's see then. Seminara, Renier, and Vele, they'll follow each other, they'll mirror it. But for Mora that we're looking at right now, not sure what he's going to do. He could try and just counter what Barrios did, or just follow the top 3. The thing is though, pace-wise, it's not been good because he is losing time to Barrios, despite Barrios having done a pit stop. He was about 30 plus seconds behind. Now it's just under 30 seconds.
Yeah, as everyone can see right there in the timing, it had at about 27 seconds left between Leo Mora and Santiago Barrios, as Leo Mora showing some love to the camera there. So it looks like he is cruising, just really trying to keep some smooth lines. I think right now he's getting in some good practice. And like we said, will that 27 seconds be enough Right now, just a little under 26.7. Will it be enough for when he makes his pit stop to have another great battle between Leo Mora and Santiago Barrios? We will have to wait and see, as we are coming up into the 10-minute mark here in this race. So already 3/4 of the way through of this 40-minute heat. Again, with our ACC races, we only do the one 40-minute heat versus two 20-minute heats in iRacing. And again, we see everyone out there in chat. We know a few of you guys are drivers, so people out there in chat, hey, come on out here, shake things up a bit, hop in on some of these AMX1 races. We'd love to see you guys out there. We love seeing you in chat interacting, but we'd also, like you said, love to see you out here in the races, making things a little bit harder on these guys, giving them a tough time.
Or you can just ask questions in below and, pick the brains of the guys who are giving you the action right now. And maybe you can learn a thing or two about how the sim racing sphere goes on behind the scenes, etc., etc. But yeah, plenty of activity in the comment sections right now. But on track, it's actually gone a little bit boilerplate because the gap spread out. The only thing that we can keep track right now is the progress of Barrios to the back of Mora.
I see now in chat too a few people saying playing Forza. I love all driving games, whether it is a sim, whether it is something arcadey like Need for Speed, The Crew, Forza Motorsport, Forza Horizon, all of these games into iRacing, Assetto Corsa, all of these I absolutely love. I've played since I was a kid. That was probably my first ever game playing was one of the old Need for Speed. I believe it was Need for Speed 2 or Need for Speed 3 on PC. That I remember that my brother let me play at 4 years old. I'm not too sure that my parents were happy about me being on the computer, back in the 90s at that age. I'm giving away my age now. Oh no. That's but anyways, I'm glad though that just sticking with it. Love the community, love all of this about it. Just everyone out here, we'd love to see as many people. Guys, you too. Make sure, hey, your friends watch, your family watches. Bring your grandma in here. I'm sure she would love watching you race. I know we have a couple people we interviewed yesterday. The Kieran Harrison, who won the AMX 10 race yesterday. And he just absolutely giving a shout out to his family as well. So we love it. We love seeing everyone here get involved in the community, whether you're on track, off track, anywhere in between. We love having you.
Absolutely. It's to cultivate a good community around not just in the AMX series, but sim racing at large. And we can get everyone on board here too. Like what we did with Redline at one point and still are, with their drivers joining the races. And I think Max Verstappen, if he was to, wink wink, blow off some steam after a rather disappointing Grand Prix today in Australia, he might just want to join that. But we'll see. You never know what's going to happen. He has driven a couple of times with a controller, and he's proven to be quite quick on it. So it gives us a lot to talk about. As comment section below says, is AMX 1 a support series to AMX 10? And we can safely say that, I guess, because it's kind of like a preliminary before the main event, So to call it support series, partly true, and it's almost like a preliminary to the big one as well. So yeah, we can call it that, I guess. That'll be quite nice nod to realism, to the real world.
Yeah, and of course, like you said that too. Some of these races, they are some. Not quite. Like we do have AMX1 NASCAR races, which are the only NASCAR races currently in AMX. So the same with Assetto Corsa, just it being on a different service than iRacing. We do have anywhere from people coming in here as rookies to seasoned veterans, and it still makes for some great timing. As we can see now, looks like we have the little pit marker for Leo Mora. So we'll have to see again what ends up happening there as his flashers are on. Has the has the pit stop. Will he be taking off now? Let's see. There he goes. So, of course, that gave just enough time for Santiago Barrios to get back into that fourth place position, as Leo Mora will now do his best to chase him down. And let's see in these final 5 minutes what good battles we end up having. Of course, your top three still yet to take their pit stop.
Yeah, and I think Mora may have also fluffed his pit stop there a bit because it looks as though when he came off the jacks, the invisible air jacks, he kind of stalled the car a bit. So that's why he didn't go off as fast as compared to Barrios was in his pit stop, because it looked pretty buttery smooth when he came to the pits on the jacks, got the car rolling and started again afterwards. So look at that. In turn, he lost about 44 seconds to Barrios. So what was a 25-second advantage prior to the stop? Barrios had a good good laps in between Barrios, between Mora's in lap and pit stop subsequently. He didn't really get the best of runs out of that, so that's why now Mora is pretty much again in no man's land, completely far away from Barrios and the rest of the field.
So as we can see, Barrios coming around, hitting those curbs a little bit aggressively, shaking things up a bit. Hopefully he can not hit those a little bit too hard and get any damage to his car, because that would be a very unfortunate thing. Have Leo Mora catch all the way back up due to damage. That's always the worst feeling as a driver, when you just go over something and end up damaging your car. Of course, you were talking about Max Verstappen earlier, who yesterday during the Australian Grand Prix had some damage to his vehicle, and that unfortunately led to a DNF. But now we can see some of those top drivers as Lucas Werle is going into the pits. So first out of your podium drivers to head into the pits, will he get a quick pit stop, or will this give enough room? Of course, Santiago Barrios was 1 lap down, so we will have to see if he has a quick pit stop to keep onto that 3rd position. And right now, again, Seminara leading by about 5 seconds as well.
Yep, and that will be the time that we'll keep in mind. 5 seconds between Seminara and Renier, as look at that, Verle, exactly how it should be done, where he just stopped on his jacks, fired the car up quickly and just go, only fill in 1 liter of fuel. So Verle, Barrios and Mora did the exact same thing as well, where they just only filled in at least 1 or 2 liters of fuel to get back out. But the only guy that fluffed his lines a bit was on the exit was Mora, where he got to get away a bit slow. And the fact that his in-lap wasn't really as good compared to what Barrios is doing, and as a result lost a lot of time, about now 44 seconds behind. Whereas Verle, he's trying to chase after 1 and 2, got the pit stop that he really needed. Now it's depending on how Seminara and Renier do their pit stops to see if the gap is any closer.
Like that too, as we see Seminara, who it looks like he may be coming up on lap traffic here. We'll see a lot of times too, when you come up on lap traffic, also with about just over 2 minutes left, he pretty much has to pit here if he wants to not get a penalty later on during the race. Of course, these guys were running about 2-minute laps as he does pull off into the pits, and we should expect Lloyd Renier here in a few seconds to also be following suit. Also making sure to slow down to that 50 kilometers an hour, does not want to get a speeding penalty. We have seen that before from some of these drivers leading the race, only to be hit with that speeding penalty in the pits. But like you can see there on the camera, Renier pitting him right behind him. So this should be a good thing. Both of these guys have to get great starts back out of the pits. If Seminara gets a little bit slower of a start out of the pits than Renier, then we might have another battle on our hands for P1.
Yep, and the thing is, luckily everyone who came to the pits did not knock over that pit marker, otherwise someone would have easily gotten a penalty. It is easily knockable in that pit lane, as Seminara almost in and out as quickly as we could actually speak about it, because there he goes. Seminara's out of the pits, and he is well and truly clear of Renier. But let's see, by the time when they hit the first sector, if Renier was gaining on the 5.4 seconds that he has in deficit before they came to the pits. As Renier comes out of the pits, though, behind him, Verle is right up his chuff. So looks as though Verle has actually gained the most out of that pit stop as they come up to the first sector line. What's it going to be?
And of course, right here with less than 1 minute remaining, Seminara getting a good pit stop and leading the race. And Renier, you can see coming in and out of the camera right here, some of these wider shots that Werle is looking to increase on that. Only about 7 seconds behind the leader. So as long as Seminara can keep up his pace and does not make any mistakes, he may be our AMX 1 winner for today. So right now, we are going to focus on Renier and Werle. Can Werle make it up here? Again, just slightly the same amount of gap between the first top three like it has been all race.
Yeah, but I think Renier lost 2 seconds in the pit stop there, so Seminara with a better in lap, and then he got his box slightly faster, so he gained about almost 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds in fact by my count. So Renier didn't have the best of stops, and I thought it was Verlet right behind Renier, but it's actually Barrios. So Barrios has been lapped. He can immediately finish the race once Seminara crosses the line because it's been a faultless performance up in front. No mistake whatsoever. He kept it clean the whole way.
So here we go. Simone Seminara looking to be 2 weeks in a row winning your AMX1 Assetto Corsa Competizione race. As the checkered flag flies, you see him right there shining the lights. He's happy about that. 2 races, 2 wins, giving Lloyd Renier a run for his money. As we see right now, there goes Renier across the finish line and followed closely by Lucas Werle. So that 2 right there with your leaders, Seminara and Renier. Renier being the points leader coming in today. But if Seminara keeps driving like this the rest of the season, we may see a switch for your overall points lead.
Well, it's going to be quite close then, cutting it if Renier misses any of the races. But then again, currently it's quite an unassailable lead. He has twice the amount of points up in front compared to his closest championship rival, fellow countryman Fabien Noyer, who is not here today, unfortunately. So really, only a disaster in the final stage, in the closing stages of the season, will let deficit in front be overhauled.
And just like that, we come to a close here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And another great race. Again, like we had the 2 coming into it, pretty much we almost had an exact repeat of what happened from our qualifying into our Heat 1, as we have Seminara taking the win. Amir, go ahead and let the viewers know our final standings.
Yep, certainly, Kevin. As you can see there, first place is Simone Seminara by about 7.8 seconds in front of Lloyd Renier, but I think he might have also had the faster lap of the race because his pace was scintillating up in front. He was untouched the whole way. Then Lucas Verle in third place, a further 7 seconds behind. So 15 seconds covered the first 3, with Simone Barrios in fourth place, Santiago Barrios about 49 seconds behind the eventual race winner Seminara, and Leo Mora a lap behind because he was already lapped by the time that he completed his pit stop and the rest of the field came by. So that's your top 5 in it, with everyone pretty much close together, about 15 seconds between the top 3.
Another great day of ACC racing here for AMX1. Amir, that was absolutely great. Coming up, we do have the AMX 10 race. So all of you viewers at home, make sure to stick around for that. But what was your highlight of today's race?
I think it's the battle between Mora and Barrios, to be honest, because that really made the whole race really exciting, as opposed to being just a processional one, which it was for the most part. But because of those 2 battling, we had at least some more things to talk about, and it was, again, very respectful from everybody. There was no histrionics between them. It was kept clean the whole way, and glad to see that they were also having a bit of good banter in between.
Yeah, we always love seeing our drivers out here just having a great time with each other. You know, of course, like you said, although it was back at the back of the pack, that rhymed unintentionally, it was some great battles going on. Congratulations to Simone Seminara. 2 weeks into our ACC racing that he's joined us, and 2 wins, putting the pressure on Lloyd Renier, which previously Renier had come in 3 races, 3 wins, and it looks like Seminara may be looking to repeat that for himself.
Yep, we'll see if he can do that next time by, but it might be completely different cars because he looked as though he was actually fitting like a glove when he went with the BMW M2 CSs compared to some of the cars, but maybe we switch it up again for next week. Who knows? It might just be a different driver up in front.
Yeah, and that too, of course, next week coming in with different vehicle classes. Of course, each week we are trying to keep it interesting for everyone, keep the drivers on their toes, have different vehicles, as well as everyone. Make sure to tune in to all of our social media. You can see on the screen right now, AMX Global, AMXRace.com for all of our information. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, of course, streaming on YouTube and Twitch, and everywhere else in between. We love to hear your guys' comments. We love the feedback. We love seeing you during the race. Very fun race with Mura. I couldn't agree more, chat. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, but it's coming from Santiago Barrios himself. So really then, straight from the source. So we're glad to see how that there was interaction from the drivers as well for this particular race as well.
Absolutely. And like we said, so here, very shortly, we will be heading from Spain over to Italy, where we will have our AMX 10 GT3 cars coming up very soon at Imola. So make sure, again, stay tuned for that. And in between races, I don't know, maybe you might see some of us in there in chat as well. So get some water, get some snacks, come back for AMX 10, and we will also see you next week as well. Again, next Sunday, Assetto Corsa Competizione, every Sunday this season. And we have about 4 weeks left. So things are really starting to heat up now in this second half of the season.
Indeed. And well, that's the end of AMX 1. We'll sign off for now, but don't go anywhere because we'll be right back for AMX 10 after this. And a familiar contract combo when we saw it last season, where we had Max Verstappen winning. Will it be back here? We'll wait and see. But for now, we'll come back after a short break. Don't go anywhere.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Another beautiful day out here in Imola, Emilia-Romagna, Italy. Welcome back, everyone, to Season 4 AMX Racing, where today we are with the GT3 class at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, also known as Imola. Joining me today, I am Kevin Garcia here with Amir. Amir, we had some great racing early on with the AMX 1. What do you expect to see today with our AMX 10 drivers?
I think more of the same, to be honest. Thanks for the intro, Kevin. And because we had this particular contract combo last season, and a certain three-time Formula 1 world champion made his appearance. Verstappen won the very first heat that he took part in that particular one, and it was a great race towards the end. It was dramatic, and it was fun. So I'm expecting pretty much the same thing here today as well, because we got a good cast of drivers ready to take the wins in both heats. So we're not gonna get ahead of ourselves a bit too much, because we still have some nitty-gritty to get through.
Yeah, and of course, yesterday we had a little bit smaller field than usual for our AMX 10 races, but it looks like today there is no Sebring 12 hours going on that a lot of these drivers were participating in yesterday. So a lot of those drivers were out at Sebring yesterday for the official iRacing event and are now back here with us for AMX 10 today. So, but before we do get into the race, of course, as always, you can see on screen, make sure to follow us at all of our social media. But we have a little bit of housekeeping. So here's some information to go along with what we are doing currently in Season 4 of AMX Racing. And as you can see, overlooking the beautiful racetrack, AMX Global Season 4. We've been going since January 27th, and we will be here the next few weeks until April 21st with a season prize pool of $20,000 and next level racing gear. So the race format for these races today, we are in iRacing. We'll start with a 20-minute qualifier, followed by a top 15 reverse grid, going into a 20-minute heat number 1, which again will be followed by another top 15 reverse grid going into your final heat number 2 for the last 20 minutes. Of course, everyone joining today that is driving must have their driver cam enabled. You can join the link via our AMX Discord or on the website for more information on that. The payouts are balances over $100 will be paid out every single month. So once you hit that $100 threshold, it will be paid out that following month. Race days are on every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, anytime, feel free to sign up at amxrace.com. All the info there for the rest of the season. Racing Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, all at the same time. AMX 1 begins at 5:50 p.m., followed by AMX 10 at 7:20 p.m. All times are scheduled in GMT time zone. So moving on, we can see it's been a great season so far. With each of these races, there is a total of $500 up for grabs, and it breaks down accordingly. Starting with qualifying, first place in qualifying starts with $30. Second place will get $20, followed in third place $18, going all the way down into 15th. And once we get into our heats 1 and 2, each heat will also get a first place prize of $30, 20 for second, 18 for third, and so on, with setting the fastest lap getting an extra $4 per heat. To join in these races, you must have a 2,000 minimum I rating, and the total, like we said, $500 prize pool every single AMX 10 race. So here are your current AMX 10 top 12 with your leader by quite a bit, Gael Valero. We seen him here yesterday, and he has been doing very excellent this season at 941. Second place, Kieran Harrison, who also had an amazing race yesterday, winning heat number 2. Third place, we have Aaron Vasquez, followed by fourth, Dino Filippa. Fifth place, Gaston Culavi. Sixth place, Jackson SNJ. In seventh, we have Fabio Zamperlini. Eighth place, Simon Demori. Ninth, Pedro Dean. 10th place, Juan Blanat. followed by 11th place Corentin Guinez, and rounding it out in 12th place with Peter Zuba. But that was your overall top 12. Now we're getting into your AMX 10 rear-wheel drive top 10 drivers, starting off in 10th position with Corentin Guinez at 126 points, moving down 2 spots. Eduardo Leo in 9th position at 127. Christopher Lullum in 8th with 148 points. Aaron Vasquez in 7th with 149 points. Boris Ovando in 6th place with 158 points. Simon Demori in 5th place with 162 points. Fabio Zamperlini, 4th place with 169. And your top 3, starting with Jackson Asenje at 206 points, followed by Peter Zuba in 2nd place with 236 points. And your current leader for the class, Gael Valero, with 319 points. So there, Gael Valero leading the overall AMX 10 and also P1 currently in this category. But now we're going to head it back over to Amir to get a little bit more information on today's race.
Yep, thanks for the overview and of course the housekeeping, Kevin. Now we get to a bit more of where and what we'll be racing at. But first is the where. As you can see, it's Imola, or the full name, the Autodromo Nazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, named after, of course, the patriarch of the Ferrari brand, the late great Enzo Ferrari, and his unfortunately gone too soon son, Dino Ferrari. You'll get to see a bit more of both of them in the incredible Ferrari biopic that came out just this year. Imola then, the city of Imola, or specifically the region of Emilia-Romagna, just not that far away from the home city of Ferrari, Modena. Opened first in 1953 with a length of about 4.9 kilometers, but the circuit itself has gone through several iterations, including noteworthily after 1994, of course, after the tragic accidents that claimed the lives of Roland Ratzenberger and the great Ayrton Senna. So the circuit itself a much safer proposition today compared to it was back then, but still quite a driver circuit. And personally, it's a great favorite of my one because how it just really is a mix of fast-flowing corners but really technical sections. And to complement the circuit that we'll be racing on, the cars themselves are state-of-the-art, the latest versions of the GT3 class cars that have been around since 2006, but this current iteration is some of the most advanced and the most highly sought-after cars in the world of motorsport. 500 to 600 horsepower, of course, but with BOP because it could be differentiating between the circuits. Rear-wheel drive, of course, weighing over 1.2 to 1.3 tons and sequential gearbox, so no hands off the wheel, it's all hands on here. Sequential shifters ranging from just now we saw the Ferrari with the 488 and the current new one, the 296, the BMW M4, Lamborghini Huracan Evo 2, Porsche 992 GT3, and so on and so forth. So we have a great variety of GT3 cars that are being raced around the world in multiple championships, proving how successful the GT3 category has been since its early days.
And now we're going to head into the qualifying, see how your drivers are doing so far. Like we said, we have a pretty good lineup going in today, and it looks like so far we have a couple of the Brazilians up towards the top, one of those being Caio Gaspar leading it so far. And we can see on board from the inside of the Huracan GT3, plenty of different cars out here today. Looks like we have quite a bit of variety. Sometimes you get in these races and see it dominated by a certain make or model at a certain track. But today out here at Imola, looks like we have a good variety going on.
Yep, certainly. And it's spread up between 5 manufacturers, currently being led by, guess what? Italian makes. Lamborghini and Ferrari leading the way with Caio Gaspar and Gustavo Ariel, but the rest of the field we see Audis, we see Porsches and BMWs involved in the mix. One BMW of course, but regardless of that, it is still a good spread of manufacturers, as you said, and I can't wait to see how this all plays out, and the fact that we now can have a full flip of the script, shall we say, from the top 15. So every single driver on the grid right now will be reversed. And currently, Tim State, a driver using VR, will be on pole position. How daunting would that be to see the rest of the field behind him? He's about 2.3 seconds behind Victor Miranda now, who's actually disposed of Caio Gaspar at the top of the list. So it's a Brazilian 1, 2, 3. How would they love that to stay that way come race day, as we look at Gabriel coming out of Tosa into Piratella. Previously the most notorious corner on the track, but now it has a bit of runoff, so you can just almost take it as fast as you could. But yeah, great circuit, great cars, and really good drivers involved here today, Kevin.
Yes, and like we mentioned earlier, there are a few names on here that I'm seeing. One in particular with Wierzbicki, who I believe, congratulations to the Drago Racing team. They were able to take a first place win yesterday during the iRacing main event for the Sebring 12 hours, as well as we had Team Redline going into second right behind them. And of course, the other couple of classes, we had some Williams Esports as well with the other couple of wins. So there was a lot of great racing. I love that we still had a lot of drivers racing in AMX 10, even though they did have some of their teammates out there. So a lot of support just from the entire community for these guys. But again, we're still there as Gaio Valero able to move up into third place. So your overall leader now sitting in that third place position with about 8 minutes left in this qualifying time.
And look at the time that he set. Exactly the same as Caio Gaspar, but because Gaspar set his time first, he is in second, whereas Valero's in third. No doubt Valero will be eyeing to see whether or not he can actually get past Miranda, as we're now on board with him. Looks as though this is not his push lap. He's in fact on his out lap, so ready to get the car and tires and fuel primed for his run. Gaspar, meanwhile, looks as though he is actually getting the leg up here in his second run. He's trying to better Miranda's time. Fastest in the second sector overall, and in the fourth sector, so he's looking good here, Kevin.
Yes, it should be an interesting one, as we had the three Brazilian drivers up front, now being interrupted by Gaio Valero. But again, we still have quite a bit of time for these guys. As we can see, Gaspar there in the bottom left-hand corner, looking focused as always, as he is starting his next lap. So, will he be able to get that? And it does look like that was enough to get him that first place position. So, increasing his time slightly, now up to a 141.628. And for everyone watching at home, you can see alongside the timing, we also have a QR code pop up from time to time that you can follow along with the live timing. So now with Ariel, who is right here again in the Team Red Lime livery of the Ferrari drivers. So one of our Ferrari drivers out here today. We do see a lot of Team Redline loving to use the Ferrari 296 vehicle. That is also probably one of my favorite GT3 cars to drive in iRacing.
Yeah, certainly it's a looker, and it drives quite well. It's slightly better than the 488 previously because it has more aero bits and it just gets around the corner better. But again, the BOP formula does also help make the car look good, as across the line comes Gaio Valero. Let's see if he can improve on his previous time. Across the line he does, and no, it isn't. And I thought it was actually the Evo 2, the Huracan, but it turned out to be the previous version Evo because it has no tail fin. But regardless, it's still a really fast car, and for Valero, just outside of that. Now we get a few other drivers on the screen here. This is Peter Kwasinowski, who is on screen about 1.4 seconds behind. Still very close though. Sometimes in the TCR classes we get drivers from 1st to 20th within a second. GT3 cars are about the same, but really the drivers make a lot of difference here, how they can harness the power and grip in his GT3 cars.
And one of the things that we were mentioning earlier between streams, that we were waiting to see, how much of a lineup we had today. We have some other real-life drivers, like you'd mentioned. Max Verstappen, last time that we were here, joined in on the race. But unfortunately he did have an unfortunate Grand Prix at the Australian GP yesterday with some damage to his vehicle, which ended it early for him. But he did not decide, as he is known for sometimes, like we said, hopping off, just maybe blowing off some steam. That man absolutely lives, breathes, and just cannot get away from racing, whether it's in real life or the sim. But as we go into 5 minutes left, your current leaders in qualifying are Gaspar in first, Miranda in second, and Valero in third place.
Yep, and the highest iRating driver with the iRating here is Gustavo Ariel. He is on a flyer right now, as you can see, coming out of the final two corners here. Rivazza 1, Rivazza 2. It was good in the third sector, but it looks as though he might just lose a bit in the fourth because it was a poor run out of there, and it reflects in his time because it looks as though it's always a slight improvement. He jumped ahead of Rashende, but that really was a fine margin between being in first and just outside of it.
And of course, back on board, you can see there in the bottom left, Victor Miranda. Absolute concentration as he's coming into these turns here. And I'm trying to see who that is ahead of him right now on the track. But as it sits, he is currently number 2 in the placing as we go back on to that home straight. Will he be able to get a better lap time? We will see right now. And he is able to slightly improve his lap time now, taking that first place spot over Gaspar. Miranda and Gaspar going back and forth. We'll see if Gael Valero can also shake it up a bit in these last few laps. They have a couple more attempts. Of course, this is a slightly longer track, like we said, about 4.9 kilometers. For my American viewers out there, that is just over 3 miles. 3.05 miles is this track, so slightly longer one.
And he impeded someone just now. That was actually Peter Zuba, so that was not really good traffic management for Miranda because he wasn't looking behind that another driver was on his push lap. So that stuffed up Zuba's run, and he is not going to be able to set another one because remember, once the clock strikes 20, that's the end of qualifying almost immediately. So Zuba may be a little bit miffed by that one, but the upshot for him is that he's going to start up in P5 when we flip the script for Heat 1.
Yeah, just an unfortunate incident right there, but that is what happens when you have 14 drivers all on the grid at the same time trying to set down their fastest laps. Sometimes they can get a little bit of space between them, but like we've seen there, that is the unfortunate time of when someone's still maybe trying to push a little bit harder and just not total track awareness of where everyone is. As we are on board with Timothy State, he is the only American on the grid today, and he has been very consistent in showing up for these races. Tim, one of our VR drivers, like we mention every single time, is looking at sitting down there 14th with a 143.9. As we go back over to Pascucci, who's looking to improve on his current 6th place spot, currently at a 141.9, just only about 4/10, a little over 3/10 of a second slower than your leaders. So we can see here also now popping up on screen for those of you viewing at home, you can see at the bottom the section timers, purple meaning that they have gotten the fastest section in the class, green is their own personal improvement, and yellow means they have not improved on their time in that section as Pascucci is coming to an end.
Yeah, man, he was setting the fastest second sector of everybody throughout the entire session, but it looks as though the third and fourth sectors were not as good as it was in the second, and he decided to bail out of there. But again, he didn't have to sacrifice it too much because he will start further up on the field once the first heat comes around. But yeah, he misses out on an extra $18 if he were to qualify on pole.
And that too, again, 20 seconds left, so we will see what drivers can make their lap time improve. It's going to be a close one for some of these drivers as Gael Valero might just barely make it here. As you can see, going to the DRS, of course, that is safe for the Formula cars. 3 seconds left as he comes across the front straight. We will have to wait and see what the final standings are here in just a few seconds.
Well, that was quite nip and tuck, wasn't it? It looks as though that he might have gotten it right to death, but we'll await until the confirmation comes on screen to see if Valero did improve from his P3 provisional starting place, and he doesn't. He misses out on pole by just a whisker above a 10th of a second, but it's Victor Miranda, our BenQ session winner, by only just under 400ths of a second in front of his fellow countryman Kyle Gaspar, Valero third, Gustavo Ariel fourth, and Jackson Resende fifth. So a Frenchman in between, an armada of Brazilians up in front, with an Argentine in sixth there with Pescucci, Visbicki, Dean, Zivok, and Zuba running out of your top 10. But look at those times. First to 12, just under a second, so 7 tenths between them. It's a competitive field. Can't wait for how the race goes with Tim State and Peter Kwasnowski up in front leading the field.
And of course, having such close times like that on a GP track, it is always a great combination for some close battles. Like we said, 12 drivers within a second of each other. We should have a very interesting first couple laps and last couple laps. That's where a lot of the actions happen. A lot of these drivers get bunched up, start hitting each other, start door banging, whether it's intentionally or not. And sometimes, unfortunately, that can change up the entire running order. But now the cars are lining up on the grid behind the pace car to get ready to go. Again, out here, AMX 10 Racing at Imola in the GT3 cars.
Yep, an interesting front row. Kwasnowski and State being on pole position there. And right at the back, you got the really fast guys of like Valero, Miranda, and Gaspar, who really know how to drive these GT3 cars. We're gonna get out of the way very soon. The safety car will lead the field, the Porsche safety car. And we're underway now for a very short formation lap. Then we're gonna go through a rolling start. About 7 rows of 2 cars, 7 rows of 2 getting underway here. And a very tight first couple of corners. Tamburello might be a real point of contention here, Kevin.
Yes, and we can see especially one of the interesting things, which we love the reverse grid for these top 15, which of course today with only 14 drivers means that everyone is in the reverse grid today. As we start heading off, well, let's see. Tim State leading in the pole position. Will he be able to hold on to it? Or will he start to get overtaken by some of these drivers from behind in the pack? And that always makes, like we said, couple interesting first couple of laps as these guys are across the start line. It is green. Tim State still up in first, and we have still about the same running order. These guys playing a little bit safe. They still have a little bit of cold tires. Wierzbicki up a place, as well as this NJ, Gustavo Ariel, Gaspar, Victor Miranda back in the back, battling it out. Your 2 fastest from qualifying. As we see now, Tim State still holding that, and looks like a lot of the battles will be happening here in the middle of the pack as they're trying to get in line following that train.
Yep, amazingly very clean start. I was expecting a couple of drivers to come a cropper, but only just coming up to Tosa, we saw just now that Valero lost a couple of positions. But apart from that, very good start here, Kevin. Everybody really being very orderly. No such troubles, no histrionics, just absolute clean racing. But how long would I stay? Because right now, some drivers know full well that once the race settles into rhythm, they got to get the pressure going. And for Tim State, that pressure will be to keep 13 drivers right behind him here for what could be a very unlikely but popular win.
And that too, like we said, either it's everything happening on the first lap or not too much happening as the drivers are just settling in. Oh, and it looks like we have a little bit of a spin out there in the back. We're gonna have to see who that was again. Looks like that may have been Pedro Dean, who is now unfortunately back several places, down 7 so far. And just as I spoke, as another person, looks like we have Zuba also spinning out. Oh no, we always say it as soon as we start saying how well these drivers are doing and there's no accidents. We have our first couple of incidents on lap 1. Now going into lap 2, Tim State still leading, but Zamperlini is looking to overtake.
Yeah, we kind of jinxed it a bit there as Pescucci was involved in that first incident to put Dean into the barriers, where that second one, I don't know, I'm not sure what happened there because looks as though Zuba just probably lost it under braking and went straight off at Rivazza. But apart from that, the rest of the field, they are still together here at the front. Zamperlini, we all know how well he can drive with Dark Horse Racing Team. Up the back of Tim State. State makes a mistake coming through Villeneuve, and that allows the rest of the field to come and swarm him. So unfortunately, there's the wind going bagging, and he ends up because he spins around, touching the back of Gustavo Ariel, and well, calls it. That's just the end of his charge for the win.
And just like that, just with the one slightly going wide mistake, we can see, and in the bottom right, we have Pedro Dean who's spinning out, who looks like, I can't tell too well from that angle if he had gotten a little bit of a bump or if he just took that curbing a little too short, but it ended up with him going into the barrier and unfortunately falling down a place. But right now, we have your leaders currently Zamperlini, Vasniovsky, and Kulavi in third place, followed by Wierzbicki shortly after, and a great mid of the pack. These guys, all the way probably through the top 7 places, are very, very close, as we have a battle right now between Wierzbicki, Diwak coming up a place over, oh no, just being in the back, just keep going. It looks like that was Givok, unfortunately, in that Porsche, and as he tries to get back on, spins out a little bit again.
Yeah, and I think the Ferrari there of, not sure if that was Ritende or it could have been Gustavo Ariel, spun him around completely because the closing gap was just that minute, and it was enough to pit maneuver him into the barriers. There's the incident for Juba. Oh no, in fact, he was actually helped out by a BMW there, not sure who that was. He lost it coming to Rebecca 1, hits the barriers, and he was in the pits at one point, so he used the quick repair to get back into the action, but there goes his chances of a really good finish going back in the first heat as Miranda continues his surge up through the field. He, Valero, and Gaspar gained plenty of positions, but the most out of that is actually Ariel, who's just outside the podium positions. Battle still ongoing here as Miranda tries to overtake Gaspar.
And that's, like you mentioned, the BMW. So it looks like we do only have one BMW in the field today of Jackson Asenge. So that might have been him getting caught up in that incident back there. But right now, looks like there's a close battle going on between Ariel, Asenge, and Pescucci, as these 3 drivers are still very close to each other. Again, we've seen time and time again as we're with Asenge right now. He has been great defending. Once he finds his groove, finds his rhythm, he's been an absolute monster on the track, fending off these other drivers from passing him. But again, these drivers are starting to get a little bit aggressive today. We've already had a few unfortunate incidents. We're going to have to see from the racing stewards of who is at fault for some of those and if there will be any penalties applied later on. But now, as we go into lap number 4, your leaders, Zamperlini, is now leading the pack and has a gap of about 2 seconds as we see Wierzbicki going for the pass over there. He makes that second place his now. So, a little bit of contact in the back right behind him as well. We'll have to see how that plays out going into this this next lap, number 4.
Well, that was a beautiful move from Gustav Ariel because he followed Wierzbicki to just overtake Kwasniewski. That's Kwasniewski with the Lewis Hamilton tribute helmet. Looks as though he was a little bit caught short there because not enough momentum to come through the corner, and Ariel just opportunistically swooped around the outside to take away that position away from Kwasniewski. So 2 positions in just the space of a couple corners, that might be a little bit painful. Plus his teammate G-Walk was involved in that accident just now with one of the Ferraris that was up in front. So again, not a great couple of laps for that particular team.
And now too we see Gustavo Ariel, who is just got into second over Wierzbicki. Wierzbicki right there in the Drago Racing Ferrari, just slightly behind him, and right here behind him as well, we were watching earlier, Kwasniewski. As we have the Zivok incident coming up right there in the bottom right-hand corner. Looks like there might have been just a little bit of contact right there going wide, causes that spin out into the gravel trap, and that unfortunately put Zivok all the way down, who is currently in 12th place. But again, we are not even halfway through this race. There's a lot of incidents so far. We'll see as these drivers keep pushing to their limits who is going to keep their first position, as the gap now jumps up to about 2.5 seconds. So again, your top 3 starting to pull away a little bit, and we're having a lot more battles here in the middle of the pack.
Yep, including the likes of Victor Miranda, who nearly comes up to the back of Wierzbicki here with battles all around. Pescucci was battling him that time. Now it's going to be a 5-car strain coming up to Villeneuve as Valero gets ahead of Gaspar just about between the battle of the 2 Lamborghinis. And now it's a battle of a Lamborghini and the Audi, where these 2 cars are basically the same. They're both V10 powered, but the same architecture, with the Audi lending its architecture in this regard to the Lamborghini. It's going to be an equal fight in that regard after that. But Wierzbicki, for the time being, hangs on in front of Miranda, Pescucci, Valero, and Gaspar.
That too, as we're going now following Gael Valero, who is up 4 positions from earlier. He had unfortunately fallen to the back of the pack early on in this race, has now been able to climb back up to that 8th spot, but the pressure's not off him yet, as there is the car of Gaspar looking to overtake him very close. And now we see again a battle going on for 3rd place between Jackson Asenje and Wozniacki, who it looks like Jackson Asenje again being very aggressive here, as we can see on the bottom right hand corner, the rear bumper cam from Wierzbicki as well. Right now, Wierzbicki battling off Miranda. These two, I'm assuming we're going to see a battle back and forth the entire race between these two. They've been very close in lap times now during this heat number 1. As we see towards the inside, Jackson Asenje making a move. Will he be able to stick it? Looks like he just might, as he gets that inside line, and he does.
Yep, gets ahead of Kwasniewski. Once again, Kwasniewski loses position at Tamburello, but he really didn't want to defend too hard, because he knows full well if he goes narrow, he might run the risk of overshooting the first couple of corners. So that's why he just kept his line and just continued battling afterwards. Though to his detriment, not the best of pace, because he's lost about 3 seconds to Resende in the last couple of laps. Now he's going to be falling to the jaws of Wierzbicki and Miranda afterwards behind him.
Of course, and Wierzbicki usually out here with one of his teammates, Aaron Vasquez, who is not racing with us today. But we have seen him. Oh no, another spin right there. Looks like by Wozniacki, gets spun out into the gravel trap. We will have to see a replay later on exactly what happened with that contact. I did not catch the other driver that was involved in that, but that puts Wozniacki back into 8th place. As we see now, Gael Valero makes it up 7 places, currently sitting in 5th place, about a second behind Wierzbicki, and battling it out with Gaspar.
Yeah, that might have been Valero or Gaspar behind that hit maneuvered Kwasniewski into spin. No, in fact, it was Victor Miranda. So Miranda was the one that actually sent Kwasniewski into the barrier. So unfortunate again that the Porsches have fallen victim to other cars pit maneuvering him. We saw just now how Zivok actually was sent all the way to the back, being pit maneuvered by Gaston Coulhavi, but somehow both of them have ended up back there. So Coulhavi faded afterwards despite getting a few positions out of that. But through all of this, up in front, Fabio Zampolini has not been touched at all, but he's going to have to watch his mirrors now, because fellow countryman Gustave Ariel with 11,000 I rating closing in quite fast.
And as we go back, we see now Zampolini, who Gustavo Ariel looks like he is having a little bit faster through Sector 1 and Sector 2. So we'll see, can Gustavo Ariel keep making up that time, or will Zampolini be able to hold him off? It comes down to about a 0.7 gap so far, and they both have a little over 4 second gap between 2nd and 3rd place of Asenje. So now we may have a pretty good battle going on for 1st place coming up, as Gustavo Ariel keeps decreasing that time, getting just slightly faster lines through sectors 1, 2, and 3. This should be a battle for the ages as we go into the next 3 laps. Again, we're on currently lap 7 out of 11 here at Imola.
Yeah, Zampolini looks like he's not too flustered by it for now, but he's gritting his teeth, wrapping his knuckles around the wheel to just hustle that Ferrari around the last sector through Ravazza 1 and 2, then and pass by the start finish line through Variante Bassa. Was left of it, of course. It used to be a chicane that led up to the start finish line. Now starts another lap. He only has 4 laps after this to hang on to a really well-deserved victory. But for how long? Because right now, Gustavo Ariel closed on him in about 4/10 that previous lap. He really is having the bit between his teeth here.
And that too, as that gap is now hanging around about half a second between Zampolini and Gustavo Ariel. We can see the onboard camera down there in the bottom right-hand corner, and in the background, see Jackson Asenje in 3rd place, lurking about 5 seconds now. So, all right, we have your 2 leaders, Zampolini in 1st, followed by Gustavo Ariel closely behind him. A little bit of a gap to 3rd with Jackson Asenje, but now we're still staying on board, because like we said, lap 8 of 11. These two, we know that Gustavo Ariel is hungry for that win over Zamperlini, but will he be able to pull it off as the top two, Ford versus Ford, and in third place, the only BMW on the field. Speaking of us getting the name over and over, we mentioned we are at Imola, which is the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Erdino Ferrari, which is one of the only Grand Prix tracks to be so long of a name, but also has been renamed 2 times. It started off as Autodromo Imola, followed by Autodromo Dino Ferrari, and in 1988, with the passing of Enzo Ferrari, his name was also added onto the track.
Yep, it's quite a fitting thing that it comes full circle, isn't it? Because this is the only circuit within the vicinity of the hometown of Ferrari Modena, and it is a Grand Prix circuit in itself, so that's why it's quite fitting. Close to home to Ferrari, a great circuit, even with the tragic past that it does have. But again, it's kind of fitting of old man Ferrari, isn't it? His life was full of highs and lows and everything in between.
And today we have the Ferrari racetrack with the 2 Ferraris leading it, but that did not stop in 2020. Lewis Hamilton setting the lap record, as now we see, door to door, Zamperlini and Ariel. We're really close. Let's see right here who's going to get a better run into this next turn. We have Ariel just slightly on the inside, Zamperlini going a little bit wide, might have had just a slightly faster line there, being able to fend off Gustavo Ariel from taking that first place position from him. Zamperlini being able to slightly get back up to about a half-second gap now and fend off there. So again, just as we started talking about a little bit about the track and track records, these guys are looking to set some track records of their own for this GT3 class.
Yep, and just now Zamperlini just baited Ariel to go on the inside, and he actually managed to do so, had momentum coming through Piratella, but this time around, however, the exit of Variante Alta, he didn't have the best of runs, and now Ariel has on the inside line coming into Rivazza 1, makes the maneuver mistake. Zamperlini had no answer to that. Now he has to immediately retaliate, otherwise he might lose that draft that he has, which is so important in these cars.
So as we've seen, Zamperlini was leading in first place for quite a while, got overtaken by Gustavo Ariel. So now Gustavo Ariel, with just a couple laps left, will have to fight off for that second place position. But now we can see with Jackson SNJ and Wierzbicki right here battling for that third place. So of course, Jackson SNJ currently in fourth place, but Wierzbicki is lurking in the background, trying to do what he can to take away that podium position. And Wierzbicki, which I believe was one of the drivers yesterday for the Sebring 12 hours, they had a bit of rain that shook things up there, but today it is all clear skies here in Italy, as Wierzbicki getting ever so close to Jackson SNJ, trying to get that overtaken. I see some smoke in the background. Oh no! We're going to have to see a little bit of blinking out. That looks like that is Gaspar. We'll have to get a replay on that later on, see exactly what happened. He was blinking in and out of existence from our view.
Yeah, it might have been a bit of lag that caused him to back up into the back of Victor Miranda, but amazingly, he didn't lose that many positions, only just one. The fact that he was so far ahead of Kwasniewski, who's really faded ever since he was running up the front. He maintains P7, only for the time being though. Let's see if there's a legacy to that damage.
Yeah, an unfortunate event. I know we had seen this in yesterday's AMX 10 races too, with Pedro Dean, that he was unfortunately blinking in and out yesterday. Today, he is currently sitting in that 10th place spot, but right here again, the battle for third place continues as Jackson SNJ is defending Wierzbicki, and Gael Valero is also coming up now. So we do have the white flags flying. Lap 11 of 11 here at Imola.
Yep, with only about 1.1 seconds between Ariel and Zamperlini, but it looks as though Ariel has this race in the bag. It's now just a battle for the final position on the rostrum here. Resende, Wierzbicki, and Valero. A Brazilian, a Pole, and a Frenchman in that fight. It's close. Looks as though Resende might be the one that's being a cork in the bottle, because look at that. 1/10 faster for Wierzbicki and 2/10 faster for Valero, but Valero only has a finite number of corners that he could find to overtake here. He's the one that is actually going to be at the most disadvantage because he has to wait for something to happen in front. Whereas Viesbicki, he has Resetti in his grasp. He just needs to make that one maneuver and just hold on to it afterwards. But it's easier said than done here.
So that too, it looks like your first and second places, they are very steady, and the battle continues for third place. Viesbicki looking to get on podium as Jackson and Sanjay, they're coming into the final turns, but like we seen yesterday, it isn't over until it's over. Jackson and Sanjay right there looking in his rear view, making sure, all right, is Viesbicki going to go to make a move, or am I going to have to fight him off? Do I go for that inside line? Do I keep my line and try to just keep up my speed as those two drivers behind, like we seen earlier, we're just getting slightly faster through those sectors. We come around now. Again, that too. Viesbicki, currently sitting in that fourth position, is also having to look off at Gael Valero as Gustavo Ariel passes the finish line in first. Second place, Zamperlini. And now, coming across the finish line, it looks like third place will go to Jackson Asenje. Great defending. Fourth, Viesbicki, followed by Gael Valero.
Yep, that was pretty much what Resetti needed to do. He didn't have to do anything dramatic, just bank on the fact that Imola is just slightly more difficult to overtake, and it worked for him. He managed to get the podium just in time to make it a Brazilian 1, 2, 3. And unfortunately, Lorenzo's not here tonight. Otherwise, we would have actually done a Brazilian type finish where they go, Ariel do Brazil, winner for today. Yeah, hopefully you hear that, Lorenzo. That was the kind of reference I was going for.
Of course, like you mentioned, Lorenzo unable to be with here. Lorenzo, our best wishes going out to you. We hope to see you soon. But right now, that was a lot of incidents going on in heat number 1. We'll see if that has any effect on these drivers going to heat number 2. I know a lot of times words will be exchanged between these drivers, but here are your heat 1 results, with Gustavo Ariel coming in as your winner in first place, followed by second, Fabio Zamperlini, third place, Jackson Asenje, fourth, Nikodem Viesbicki, fifth place, Gael Valero, sixth, Victor Miranda, seventh, Caio Gaspar, eighth place, Piotr Wozniowski, 9th place, Pedro Dean, 10th, Tim State, 11th, David Givok, 12th place, Gaston Kulavi, 13th, Roman Pascucci, and rounding it out in 14th place, we have Peter Zuba.
So now then, we're going to be here for heat number 2. And once again, Tim State will be leading off where... Oh, no, not Tim State this time. He'll be close to the front. But Peter Zuba has a great opportunity to make up for what was a rather disappointing end to his first heat by starting on pole position. He's going to be right beside Roman Pascucci. So Pascucci, likewise, was also one of those drivers that really didn't have the best end to the first heat. Two drivers who have a lot to make up for in this one. Whereas the rest of the field might likewise to try to do the same thing and try to get better results, especially the winners from that first heat, Kevin.
Yes, and of course, we do know that Peter Zuba is a fairly fast driver around here. We've seen that during qualifying, and just he had such an unfortunate incident early on in heat number 1. But here we go, as we go green for heat number 2 at Imola. Looks like Peter Zuba still holding on to that lead, got a good start, and we're going too wide back in the middle of the pack. We have a few people flashing their lights, maybe trying to distract the drivers a little bit, just letting them know, hey man, you better watch out for me. And we have Ariel going up 3 positions, Asenje going up 1, and just overtaking on Pascucci now in second. We've seen a little bit of action back in the back as Tim State falls back to the back of the pack, ends up off the track.
Wow, a couple of drivers actually really were using the out extremities of the circuit. Tim State, one of them, so he ended up a bit wide at Tabarello, caught a bit of gravel and lost a lot of momentum, so he's sent all the way to the back despite starting way high up for the second heat. But regardless of that, the rest of the field and everybody comes home safely. But knocking on wood, let's hope we didn't jinx anybody here as we come up now to the middle part of the Imola circuit.
Isn't that too? I'm not going to say anything as well. Again, last time we said something, we jinxed it, so knock on wood, I'm not saying anything at all to begin with as well. But right there we can see now following your top 3, Zua, Pascucci, Kulavi, and Valero just getting up a couple places as well now as we see the battle right there in the middle. Miranda spins out, a little bit of contact, and he got the worst end of that, going off into the gravel trap. Looks like that will put him down quite a
Resende.
bit. And sorry, that was Zenji. Sorry, these black and yellow cars, both of them. Yep, Miranda is still in the middle of the pack. Zenji was the one that got spun out there. My apologies.
Yeah, and once again, it was a Porsche involved in that one. And that particular instance, it was actually Zivog that actually set them out. So Zivog, who was on the receiving end of being punted off in the first heat, has turned into violated for the second one. But again, it was almost inevitable because you were coming into the most difficult corner to negotiate to put two cars in, and contact was inevitable afterwards. So yeah, you just have to give and take sometimes. And unfortunately, both drivers went both all in.
And then too, of course, we see Peter Zuba still able to hold on to that pole position, still currently in first, but Pascucci is right there on his rear bumper, looking to overtake and get that first position for himself. Also followed shortly by Kulavi. So still into lap number 2. It's a very close race. Unfortunately, covered a couple of incidents as well early on in this race. But again, we will have to see if Peter Zuba is going to get the race that he wanted in Heat 1. Had an unfortunate incident, but now he is looking very smooth. Keep it up. Good work. Pascucci still hungry for that. As we go back to the middle of the pack, there we can see Miranda sitting right in the middle, along with Gael Valero, a couple of your fastest drivers that, of course, Victor Miranda had the best qualifying earlier on, as well as Gael Valero and Kyle Gaspar. So these guys right now sitting in the middle of the pack were your top qualifying racers, but don't expect them to stay there in the middle of the pack, as we could see from last week. As we have someone else blinking out just a little bit, that might be Pedro Dean again.
Yeah, in fact, it is. He was blinking a bit a couple laps ago. He's doing it again. Let's hope that him a bit desyncing will not cause anything major, because if someone were to say put their car in between where Pedro was at that time and then blinks back into reality, it might cause a major accident. So Dean then better watch out for what he's doing on track, as well as the other drivers right behind.
Yes, and we see right now, so it looks like a little bit of a gap. We have our top 3 drivers pulling away just slightly, about 2 seconds between your top 3 and the rest of the pack. But now we see going to the inside, we have Pascucci and Zuba. Pascucci went for the move, able to come out of it on top. Peter Zuba falls down to second place, and Kulavi's right behind him on his bumper. Great move by Pascucci to overtake and get that first place position. So now we see top 3 drivers, again, going to be battling it out all race long. I have a feeling as long as these guys can keep it clean, we may have a podium. What order will they finish? We will have to wait and see.
Yeah, great move there from Pascucci, but only because Zuba actually opened the door a bit. He went a bit wide coming out of Tosa. That allowed Pascucci to come through and then seal the deal coming up through Piratella. So really then, it's up to Zuba now to just keep his composure here to get up to the back of the Argentine. But he's got bigger things to worry about too immediately, because behind him is the Argentine Castro Kohavi, who wants to make it an Argentine 1-2 after seeing an all Brazilian podium in the first heat. He will probably try to actually help out and try to make another nation go up and conquer the top 10 of the podiums.
Yes, that too. As we see now, the 2 drivers right there still battling it out for first and second and third. Now is John to a 1.7 gap between third and fourth position, but there's also a battle going on back there for fourth position as well. As you can see, again, lots of battles towards the front, lots of battles in the middle of the pack. We have such a high strength of field today that these guys, like I said, this track, a lot of hard overtaking opportunities, which leads for a lot of aggressive driving, couple spin outs earlier, but Pascucci, Zuba, Kulavi, 1, 2, 3, as we are in lap 4 of 11 here on heat number 2. Will Peter Zuba be able to reclaim that top spot, or is he going to just stay stuck behind the defending of Pascucci? We will keep seeing, as both drivers in the bottom left hand are absolutely focused. This may be the even more focus that they had in the first race. Of course, everyone always trying to do their very best. But once you get to those top 3 podium positions, it just puts that much pressure on you as a driver.
Something it does, Kevin, because what's at stake as well is not just being on the podium, but a lot of prize money on offer. That really is what they want to aim for. Sometimes qualifying can be quite stressful, but the race is even more so because you have other drivers in your vicinity you had to fend off or you had to attack. And the case of Pascucci, after despite taking the lead away from Zuba, has not been able to break away. So he'll be sweating now, seeing Zuba and Kulhavi still closely behind. So does Caio Gaspar. Looking at Victor Miranda. Miranda's in the slipstream. He might want to try coming into Tamburello here, Kevin.
Isn't like we said, just to give a good sense of speed for some of these viewers, again, this is a 4.9 kilometer track, but these guys are running in lap times of around 141, 142 very consistently. So that just goes to show, as you can see also in the bottom right hand corner, the live speed as we're on board with Victor Miranda, who again was fastest in qualifying and now sitting in 5th place, looking to claw his way behind Gaspar to get that 4th place position. And again, they have closed that gap from 4th to 3rd. Now it is less than a second gap. So again, almost halfway through this race, and I guess about nearly halfway now, as we're about halfway through lap number 5 of 11, that things are starting to heat up a little bit from the mid-pack, trying to close the gap down and get a podium position.
Yeah, Gaspar and Miranda have a big opportunity now because up in front, they're not battling much, but they're really not putting the pace up because Pascucci is holding Zuba up a bit. Likewise, Zuba is going to knock himself into Kulhavi. Gaspar Miranda is waiting in the wings too. So Pedro Dean is going to lead the rest of the other drivers in a different battle pack. The top 5 are within earshot. Audi, Ferrari, and then you got Gaspar, who's driving in a Lamborghini, and another Ferrari behind in the form of Victor Miranda. So all equal cars, in fact. So mid-engine rear-wheel drive, the lot of them.
And that too, as we see the one of 2 Audi drivers leading up front in that R8, Pascucci, which the R8 was refreshed pretty recently in iRacing. It's been several months since they redid that. A lot of people have been absolutely loving that car. It's a little bit different on some of these sections. Like we said, of course, there are a lot of Ferrari and Porsches out here. So has that made much of a difference? Not too much. The strength of the balancing on these vehicles from iRacing is very consistent. They're always constantly updating it, making sure that we don't have one car that's going to just blow everyone else out of the field. Of course, there's always those track and car combinations that do seem better suited for each track. Of course, like we said, right here, last race we had the Ferraris coming across the finish line in 1st and 2nd. But now again, Peter Zuba in his Ferrari closing down to about 0.4 seconds off of Pascucci and about another half second between Kulavi. But what was a 3-man run for podium has now turned into 5 cars, potentially battling it out for that podium position.
Yeah, man, and they're still close at it together. Now Kulhavi has Gaspar for company by about 0.2 of a second, and Gaspar might just fancy his chances getting onto the podium as soon as he wants to, because out of Rivata 1 and Rivata 2, the gap is tantalizingly close. But that time around, Kulhavi gets a very good exit out of Rivata 2. Now he's in the slipstream once again. It's just negating each other. It's just going to be, well, in F1 is a DRS train, but this one is a slipstream train, and no car can have an advantage over the other because they're all in the same boat here. So really, the difference makers are the corners and how well you can execute them. For the time being, at least, every single driver is pretty much even Stevens.
And that too, as we continue into lap number 7, the gaps are closing down even more as the battle, the 5-way battle up front continues. There's a little bit of a gap between 5th and 6th place, but these 5 cars up front, absolutely everyone's just trying to squeeze out every 10th, every 100th of a second each turn. As you can see right there with Zuba a little bit faster through sector 2 than Pascucci, but a little bit slower, a little bit faster through sector 1, but a little bit slower through sector 2. So you can definitely see some of these drivers showing that they favor some of these corners a little bit more, know how to inch out just a little bit more speed out of there. And I'm sure that has a huge impact on why they were able to close down that gap over the last several laps. But now, again, a little over halfway through, lap 7 of 11. If you guys at home watching want to follow along live timing, the QR code is on screen right now. Feel free to scan that and follow along with us up here in the booth. But now still, Pascucci being very smooth. Will he hold on to this lead as he gets a little bit further away from those guys battling behind him?
Yeah, Zuba really got a poor run coming out of the Ravazza too. That actually opened up the gap to up to 0.6 of a second. Outside of that magic window where you need to be under 0.5 to get a slipstream and get really close to the guy in front. Though having said that, it looks as though Pascucci lost a bit of time on the straight. It's only just a couple of kinks through Variante Bassa that allows Zuba to reel in at least a few more meters to get up to the back of the Audi, while leading a train of 3 other cars right behind him, equally fast, just waiting in the wings to just pounce on him when the opportunity arises.
We can see a couple of the cars right there going. Sorry, got a little excited there, but the 2 drivers right there, Lamborghini versus Ferrari, going side by side. We have, of course, Gaspar Kulavi. Oh no, a little bit of a switcheroo right there as Gaspar now 3rd place, trying to run away from Kulavi. There's some tight battles going on, but also right behind him we have Victor Miranda right on the bumper of Kulavi. So will Kulavi be able to regain that position of 3rd? I'm not too sure, as Victor Miranda, again, such a quick driver around this track, goes for the dive on the inside. Will he keep it? Oh, a little bit of contact there. Oh no, as he gets spun out, Kulavi contact, and he just keeps getting piled on. Victor Miranda with the contact into the spin out, gets hit a 2nd time, and that will drop him back quite a bit.
Oh wow, I don't know who to blame for that particular instance, because I thought that Miranda actually had the inside line there, but he just pushed out Kohavi ever so slightly. Then when the both of them came back around, it was just no gap anyway. It's just like a couple of instances in the first laps where we saw some people coming through the Variante Alta. The gap was just closing, there was nowhere to go, and contact became inevitable. But somehow, Kohavi, after all of that, manages to still keep on going. We saw a bit of damage, but the car repaired quickly, and he's still in P4, whereas Miranda dropped a huge load of positions. He's now just out just on the cusp of the top 10.
And again, we'll have to see what the racing officials say about that incident there. You know, whose fault was it? That's not ours to judge. That is why we do have our KARA officials out here making sure that when there are incidents that they take a review at them, see if anyone's at fault, if it's a racing incident, who gets penalized and who does not. But now we do have Gustavo Ariel, the Team Redline driver, who is currently in 5th position, trying to fight off Gaio Valero. Again, Gaio Valero, our current season points leader, looking to just squeeze out one more position before the end of this race. Well, he's trying to squeeze out a lot more than one position. He's probably trying to get as close as he can to 1st place, of course, but every position helps. Having that speed, having that consistency all season long is why he is the current points leader. But don't count out Gustavo Ariel, because he is one of these guys that has just been improving every single week, every single month. Gustavo Ariel, showing what he can do out here today at Imola, has gotten himself back up to that 5th place. Now we're on board with Gaio Valero in the chase car.
Yeah, but about 9/10 of a second here. So Valero, indifferent is the best way I could describe it after his first heat. Yeah, he got up to the top 5, but again, it's just a knock-on effect of having qualified so well. He had to start all the way at the back and having to carve his way through in both heats. But again, that's the way it is in AMX, where you really have to work for your success here. And some drivers have done it better than others. That's why we call people who were fastest in qualifying and winner of the 2 heats the Triple Crown winners, in essence, because you really have to work it out to just get it up to the front.
As we can see again right here with both drivers on camera, we have Gaspar is trying to not only hold off that third place position, has a little bit of a gap, but he's trying to reclaim what was his earlier and get out of third position, trying to get back up into second. Of course, Peter Zuba, who has had a great race all Heat 2, the unfortunate incident in Heat 1 that had put him back to the pack, but he is showing, hey, just because of that incident, I'm not going to let that set me back. I'm coming into here to Heat 2. I'm coming to win it, and I'm going to do my best. I'm going to get that podium position. So this guy is just absolutely defending, fighting for his life out here, and the pure focus, the pure concentration, all of these drivers making for such great racing. Gaspar, only 0.2 seconds behind, trying to hold on to the bumper, hold on to the draft, as we only have a couple of laps left here in AMX Heat 2.
Yep. Across the line goes Roman Pascucci. He only has another 4.9 kilometers of this circuit to go through, as somehow Peter Zuba managed to get a bottle of water in his hand to drink while under severe pressure here. So he's trying to keep cool, with Gaspar closing in behind. The hole against the Brazilian here coming through Tamburello for the final time. It looks as though Zuba has managed to keep his braking absolutely clean here to just each out a bit of advantage. But the exit was very poor, because look at how close Gaspar got out to the back of him. Now he's going to have to fend it off even harder here, coming into a prime overtaking spot at Toza.
Glad to see these guys going side by side right here, and Gaspar has second for a second, and Peter Zuba door to door. This is going to be a battle all the way to the checkered flag. A little bit of contact, they're getting very close to each other, and a little bit of late braking right there. We see Gaspar going on the inside line, being able to keep that right there, keep Zuba off him, but Zuba looking to make the return back. Will he be able to do it? Looks like Zuba falls back just a little bit behind Gaspar. And man, what a great run we had there between these two drivers, but will it be enough time here as we go, as Pascucci there in front, pulling away from Gaspar and Zuba, who are just battling it out. But let's see if this battle continues for second place between Gaspar and Zuba. Zuba slowly creeping up on him, down to about half a second. They were door to door, and now let's see in these final few turns. Zuba creeping in, trying to break a little bit later, just get every single tenth back to that second position, but Gaspar also holding it off as Pascucci is coming into the final turn. Look at that, you can tell he's excited to win. He's so happy about that win. He's coming across. First place, we have Pascucci, followed by Gaspar and Zuba. Unfortunately, Zuba unable to keep that second place position. Great battle during that last lap between him and Gaspar, but both of them ending up with a podium position.
Yep, and they'll be happy with that one. Gustavo Kohavi, despite having a major accident coming into the Variante Alta, manages to end up in P4 in front of Ariel. Valero D, blinking in out of reality for most of the race, ends up in P7. 8th is Zivok, with great recovery after a disappointing first heat. 9th is Zampolini. Likewise, conversely, he'll be a bit disappointed that he didn't get up the field as much as he could. He's in 9th, and then 10th, Victor Miranda, after the accident that he had, manages to keep it there in front of Vizbiki. Then Kwazanowski, State, and lastly, Jackson Resende, despite being at the tail end of the field, is the holder of the fastest lap of the race, Kevin.
Yes, and that too, of course, these drivers just showing as Jackson Resende is coming across the finish line. Had an unfortunate incident early on there in heat number 2 that put him back to the pack, and he was unfortunately not able to recover from that. But again, all these drivers with that reverse grid, keeping everyone on their toes, as we have our official results coming in right now from heat number 2. So far it is first place, of course, your BenQ session winner, Roman Pascucci in first place, followed in second by Caio Gaspar, third place, Peter Zuba, fourth, Gaston Culavi, in fifth place, Gustavo Ariel, followed by sixth place, Gael Valero, seventh, Pedro Dean, eighth, David Givok, ninth, Fabio Zamperlini, in 10th place, we have Victor Miranda, 11th, Nikodem Wierzbicki, 12th, Pyotr Wozniowski, 13th place, Tim State, and rounding out in 14th place, Jackson SNJ, who also had your fastest lap of heat number 2. What an amazing day of racing so far. It has been great between our AMX 1 and our AMX 10 races. Of course, some of these guys coming off of Sebring yesterday, coming into AMX 10, and they were hungry for the win. Of course, we had right there, all the way from qualifying through Heat 1, through Heat 2, lots of incidences. I'm sure there's going to be words exchanged now that we're after the race. But ultimately, another great day of racing. Amir, what were some of your highlights of today's race?
Hard to pick out, to be honest, because there was so many to see. But I think the best of the lot had to be from Gustavo Ariel, because he just kept the pressure up in heat number 1 against Zampolini and caught him napping at the most inopportune moment for when the Argentine just slipped up a bit. The other Brazilian slipped up a bit and just let Ariel through. So that pressure and battle throughout the entire heat was the one that really set the tone of why this car and track combo was very good. You just wait for the opportunity to overtake, like a really good goal that's been scored in the football match. Or soccer, sorry, because, it's a difference in region. But yeah, that is the highlight for me for this round.
And of course, coming up, we will have a couple driver interviews. Like we said, great battles going on all through Heat 1, all through Heat 2, and things got a little dicey here and there. Both heats, we had a little bit of incidents going on. So we will have to see the final standings. But now we are going to go into the interview room. So stick around. We have our driver interviews coming up here in a couple seconds. Awesome, Roman. Glad to have you here. It was a very close race today. What's going through your mind now after that race? How are you feeling? And it looks like having a little bit of technical issues here, but that is okay. Roman, can you hear us?
Hola.
Hello, Roman. Congratulations. Great race. How are you doing today after that race?
I don't know how to speak English.
Okay. That's okay. Well, congratulations. Great racing. We are glad to have you here with us. Amazing. We love having you show up. I hope that you can show up. And again, really, you are a very fast driver. We love having you here. Roman, congratulations on that heat number 2. And we hope to see you here back next week as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And now joining us, we have Gustavo Ariel. Gustavo, congratulations. You had some great racing today. What was going through your mind during that Heat 1 that led to you winning?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, everyone. We joined right on time, I think, to the race. We did just some laps of practice. But it's very good to be back on this league. We did a very nice final of the championship on the last year, and now we're back. Of course, we trying to deal with Pask and other championships to race here on the AMX, but I joined Redline as well, so we have a lot of things to do. So yeah, it's good to be back. It's a very nice championship. I love to race here. It's a very challenging championship because we have inverted grid on all of the races. So yeah, it's a huge competition with the other guys, fixed setup, so it's equal for everyone. So everyone has a chance to win, starting from P15 or P1. So yeah, it's a lot of chance for everyone. So it's very nice to race here and to have the challenge to come from P14 to overtake the other guys. So it was a lot of fun today.
And like you mentioned, you were here last season in AMX and then got recruited by Team Redline, which of course, one of the biggest teams in sim racing. What would be some advice that you would give our viewers out there or our fellow drivers if they are looking to be recruited by a professional sim racing team?
Well, first of all, I think, of course, you need to have talent. First of all, if you don't have talent, you need to work harder than the other guys. So yeah, I'm very happy to join Team Redline. We start to work together on the beginning of this year, and I think my advice is just to not be involved in some trouble, because the sim racing community sometimes is a bit toxic. So it's very easy to enter some problems in the community, to do crazy moves. But I think we're learning after some years, and we're trying to be the best as possible on the practice, on the races, try to be the best in races as I can. Of course, I was racing on the real life, and most of these sim racers don't have money to race on the real life, so they come to the sim. That was my case as well, and I'm glad to be part of the team. Work with some drivers like Chris Lullen, like Max Verstappen. So yeah, it's a very good opportunity, and of course to the Brazilians, you know, because we're streaming here, we share some of the experience with them. So yeah, it's very good to be part of it, and to show a bit of my roasting with the guys. And we work a lot harder to win some races and to be part of the top lineup. So like yesterday, we finished on P2 on the top split on the Sebring 12 hours. So it's a lot of hard work non-stop. This next week we have PESC, so yeah, you need to like a lot the sim and to racing, because it's a lot of hard work involved.
Awesome. Like you mentioned, so that too, you're very busy with Team Redline. Of course, we've seen Gustavo here joined, and I believe it was the Real Racers Never Quit is when you made your Redline debut, and since then it has just been a crazy roller coaster ride. I've also seen you alongside with a couple other drivers that are here in AMX 10 with the Racing Prodigy and going into the real life. How would you compare what you've learned in iRacing to real life?
Well, to be honest, I started on the sim racing, then I jumped to karting, and I think, to be honest, the competition on the sim racing, I think it's more tough to be at the front, because you have more time to prepare, you have more time to develop your skills. On the real life, maybe you have 1 or 2 sessions to develop your karting or your car. So yeah, I think the level on sim racing is it's miles ahead of in the real life, because you have different equipments on the real life with different budgets of teams and stuff. So yeah, in my opinion, the real life it's more easy to me to drive the cars. Like if you compare like the Porsche Cup in real life and the Porsche Cup in the sim, I think you can feel more the car. Of course, you are in the car, so you can feel more what's happening. Of course, when you push a car to the limit, it's very difficult to be on that 1/10 of a second. You know, when you are on the limit. So I think it's quite close now. Especially the rain. The rain, it's very good. I think it's the best sim if you talk about the rain, because it's very equal to the real life. So yeah, I think sim racing builds a lot of real drivers, and when I come to the real life, I can drive a car and do the same techniques as I do in the sim. So yeah, it's very equal, I guess. And the competition, it's very tough to be at the front, of course.
Well, that's amazing. You did great here today. You, again, congratulations on your second place win yesterday at the 12 Hours of Sebring with Team Redline. I know the rain really switched that up. Is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to before we end up going over to our results? Who would you like to shout out?
Well, I think my girlfriend, because She let me drive in the sim almost the whole day. So yeah, thank you so much for letting me drive the sim. And yeah, I want to say a big thank you the AMX guys to be part of it. I was part of the lineup on the Real Races Never Quit representing AMX. So yeah, I'm very happy to be part of with TJ, with Raid. So yeah, thank you so much. And it's a nice broadcast as well. It's getting better and better with you guys on the broadcast. So yeah, I'm very happy to see this league growing up. And yeah, thank you so much to the Team Red Line guys. We have passed this week the World Championship of iRacing on the road course. And we're going to race it at Imola, the same track. So stay tuned on the Red Line channel and the Porsche channel as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Gustavo, for joining us, and good luck with your future races. We hope to see you back here the rest of the season, and of course, after that as well. Good luck, Gustavo. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations again.
Thank you. My pleasure, and see you on the next race. Bye-bye.
So there you have it, coming from the man himself, Gustavo Ariel. Of course, was here AMX last season, got recruited by Team Redline, and his sim career as well as real life career has just been taking off since then. But now, looks like we are going to our final results for today's race. The overall results. Take it away, Amir.
Yep, and it looks as though no surprise there that Gustavo Ariel winning one heat and performing well in the other. Nabbed him $60 on the day, 60 points as well, with a Brazilian 1-2-3 as a matter of fact. Beside him is Caio Gaspar and Victor Miranda, and you can see both of them wearing Ariel Miranda wearing Mexico colors, so they were part of the Tony Kanaan setup, but Ariel has also stepped it up a notch by moving with Team Redline, so that's really nice to see. Rest of the field, Valero, Pascucci, Resende, Zampolini, Vesbicki, Dean, and Kulhavi, and despite some of their troubles, have managed to sneak into that top 10. So very nice to see that the spread of the field is very close. And that is what the reverse grid does, isn't it? Because it really shows who's the really fast guys who can make it their way through. Plus, a couple of extra surprise results here and there when drivers really put it together.
Absolutely. And again, huge congratulations to all our drivers. Thank you for everyone joining us on the track, joining us off the track. We love to see you guys in chat. Love sharing you out here again, Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, streaming on Twitch and YouTube, AMX Global. Season 4, we have 4 weeks left in this season. And like we said, a few of these drivers are pulling away in the points lead, and a few of them are still changing up everywhere else in between. But for everyone watching, everyone on the stream, please follow us on our socials to keep up with everything going on. And if you still want to get in here, go over to amxrace.com. All the info there to sign up for our racing. Amir, what are your final thoughts on today?
Well, I think the racing speaks for itself, to be honest. We really don't have to wax any more lyrical about it, because the really good guys come up trumps and just blow away with their amazing driving. But then when you have the not so fast guys, to put it lightly, go out to the front, they can also surprise us with the way they defend and can get a racecraft up there to just show that, yep, they can actually still mix it with the best. So it's the best of both worlds. You got fast guys in qualifying, but then in the races, in the heats, it's all up for grabs. Anybody can come win on their day.
And of course, and seeing such a wide strength of field, even here on the AMX 10 races, you never know what you're going to get. But we will be seeing you. That is all for today's races. Make sure to come back and tune in on Tuesday again, starting at 5:50 p.m. GMT, AMX 1 with AMX 10 following shortly after. I'm Kevin Garcia signing off with Amir. We will see you next time.
Just tell me what's happening. Oh, if you're out of control in a hurricane. Oh, I'll open the door coming from the rain. You know that it's not ever here to stay. just want you to know